welcome address. Then we have presidential address by yes. Then we'll have the inauguration by Dr. Alexeka. The keynote address will be given by Dr. Gandhi, IAS, former Secretary of SCST Department, Tamil Nadu. And we have very famous, most of them are tribals except one, and Miss Ammini Chechi, activist from and the director of an NGO called Ur in Wayanad. Mr. Ranjit Kindo, Father Ranjit Kindo, SJ Director, Tribal Research and Training Center, Tepasa. Mr. Bukia Anil from Telangana, doing PhD at Central University. And we have Sister Ruby Kujur from Delhi, originally from Jharkhand. We have Miss Adira Narayana, ICD Professor, Mr. Kalisami, and Dr. Krishnan R, Secretary National Adivasi Solidarity Council. Yes, yes. So we are happy to have all. We are going to start now. We will kindly make me host. Mute all. Could you mute all? Friends, we'll start with a prayer. Let's begin. Kuriakos?
Yes, sir. Are you ready?
Yeah, it's the time. You can start.
Okay, sir. I belong to the hills. I belong to the fields. I belong among the wildflowers. Come find me running in the forest, chasing the butterflies. Come find me conquering mountain heights with wild berries on my head. Yes, we are indigenous people. Good evening to one and all present here.
Kindly unmute and speak. Yeah, start. Unmute and speak. Please start from beginning.
I belong to the hills. I belong to the fields. I belong among the wildflowers. Come find me running in the forest, chasing the butterflies. Come find me conquering mountain heights with wild berries on my head. Yes, we are indigenous people. Good evening to one and all present here. I take immense pleasure to welcome you all to the International Indigenous Day on Cultural Values, Rights and the Issues of Adivasis in India, organized by ADI in association with Lokman's Attapadi Unit and CAPS, Kerala Association of Professional Social Workers.
Now, let us invoke the presence of God and His guidance for the event. Now I call upon Alina Santosh to lead us with a prayer song.
Desha, Desha, verse of blessing. This is the promise of love. Desha, this is such refreshing. Sent from the Savior above. Showers of blessing. Showers of blessings we need. Mercy don't round us are falling, but for the showers we plead. But for the showers we plead. Thank you, Alina Santosh. Now, let us hear a theme song that unites us together. I welcome Tejal Gamut to enlighten us with her melodious song.
She's just joining. Can you play that one? If you can play, now play. Otherwise, we can say, we'll listen to her later. That Jai Jai Adivasi Jaho, written by Agape Turki from the Jesuit from Madhya Pradesh, and tuned by our own the chief guest, Dr. Alex Yekka. And it has been sung all over India. In YouTube, you can see the beautiful video and audio. That's all. Jai Jai Adivasi Jaho. We can listen to that song later on. We can continue with our program. Arya.
Now,
Jago.
let us welcome Ms. Uma Vadakotatra, community organizer at ADI, to read the preamble of Indian Constitution.
We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, give to ourselves this Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Uma, for reading the preamble of Constitution of India. Now, I invite Father Lenin Anthony S.J., the director of ADI, to deliver the welcome note.
Respected dignitaries and my dear friends, I wish you all very happy International Indigenous Day. Why do we celebrate this day? Yes, this is to acknowledge our cultural values, our richness, and to cherish our identity, and also to highlight the issues our people face in today's globalized world. I'm sure we have very many great eminent speakers are with us. So I'm not going to discuss anything. My role is to welcome the guests of today and each one of you. First of all, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this virtual celebration. First of all, let me welcome Ms. Lida Jacob IAS and the President of CAPS, Kerala Association of Professional Social Workers, to preside over this function. Of course, ma'am has attended already 2-3 programs of ours virtually, and she is a very committed woman, and the others will be introducing her later on. Indeed, she is the right person to do the presidential address. Welcome, ma'am. For the inauguration of the webinar, we have with us Dr. Alex Yekka, SJ, the former principal and professor as well as the rector of St. Xavier's College, Ranchi, Jharkhand. Of course, he also has come to ADI few years back, and He has organized number of national level tribal festivals programs and very committed activist, I would say, and the author of many books. And he has organized the Jamai Ulsav, Jesuits working among indigenous people, and many other things. I mean, of course, I don't explain everything about him. Now I'm very happy to welcome you, Father, for this function to inaugurate this virtual webinar. And also, today we have the eminent personality to deliver the keynote address, none other than Dr. Kristudas Gandhi, IAS. He was a former secretary to the SC/ST Commission, Tamil Nadu. And he also had come to Adi few years back, and a very dedicated Ambedkarite, or a very dedicated person who worked for Adivasis and Dalits of Tamil Nadu. And I'm very proud of him. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being with us in this function. And there are 7 eminent persons who are with us today as panelists from different parts of India. Importantly, who are all experts in the field. That makes today's program more colorful. We are fortunate to have different perspectives and different aspects of that topic from 7 different competent scholars. Namely, first of all, I would like to welcome Ms. Ammani, a tribal activist, and also she's the director of an NGO called Uru, very active Lockman's activist also. Secondly, I would like to welcome Mr. Father Ranjit Kindo, director on tribal research. He's the director of a tribal research and training center, Chaipasa, Jharkhand, where Father Shan Sami worked also. And Father Ranjit Kindo also attended many programs we have attended together. And he's also a good artist. He used to play the tribal instruments I have seen in Ranchi and other parts of India. Welcome, Father Ranjit Kindo. And thirdly, I'd like to welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bukya Anil, another friend of mine from Telangana, and he's doing his studies at the University of Karnataka. His PhD research he is doing. He also had come to Adi few years back, and very proud of this young tribal man. Belongs to Koya tribe of Andhra Pradesh, and I think he's from Telangana. Welcome, Anil Bukya. And another gentle sister, Ruby Mary Kujur, OSU. She is a national figure. She has traveled now and then. She goes to all 13 states with regard to Lockmanch, and she stays at the Indian Social Institute, Delhi, New Delhi, and she is actually national coordinator for Lockmanch. And we also coordinate working for 6 years almost, and very smart, very eminent. She belongs to I am sure Urau tribe. And welcome, Sister Ruby. And we have. Thank you. And we have another very smart young lady, very intelligent lady from Kerala, Trivandrum, none other than Ms. Adira Narayanan. She's also a PhD scholar. She studied at Trivandrum Leila College. She was doing sociology, very top in the college. And she belongs to Kanikar tribal community. And she's also now government employee, ICDS supervisor. We are proud of her. She has come to 2-3 times, and her grandmother got Padma Shri for ethno medicine, none other than Padma Shri Lakshmi Kuti Amma. She's a very popular lady, or a very senior. Her Adira's own grandmother, and we are proud of this Adira. And she also will be delivering a speech. Welcome, Adira. And we have a person from Attapadi. Thank you. We have a nice man, Kalisami, a health inspector, Attapadi, friend of Adi and a friend of all of us. Very gentleman. And he is really day and night works for people in tribal people of Attapadi. He belongs to Irula tribe. Welcome, Mr. Kalisami. And the last one, but not the least, he will join only at 7 o'clock, Dr. Krishnan. He has got long biodata for more than 25-30 years. He is working for SC, especially for Adivasis in southern states, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Kerala, Karnataka. And he will be introduced later on at after 7 o'clock. So he is the Secretary, National Adivasi Solidarity Council, NASC, and many other things we can speak about him. All are eminent people, no doubt. So now, with a great pleasure, I welcome you all to enlighten and enrich us with your words of wisdom. I feel honored to welcome all the participants, tribal friends, professors, scholars, professional social workers, Lockmans and members of CAPS, and all my brothers and sisters. Hearty welcome to be part of this national webinar. Only limited of 100 participants can attend this function via Zoom. The rest, I hope, are attending through YouTube, with our channel called Adi Srishti. I take this opportunity to welcome you all for those who are participating via Zoom platform and also via our YouTube channel. I hope this webinar will bring a change in the society, and once again wish you a very happy Independence Day. Jai Adivasi. Thank you.
Jai Adivasi.
Thank you, sir, for warmly welcoming all of us. Now, with great privilege, I invite Ms. Lida Jacob, IAS. She had been the collector and the district magistrate of Kollam. She served in Labor Department, Land Revenue Department, Local Administrative Department, and at present, she is the president of CAPS, Kerala Association of Professional Social Workers. Ma'am, with great honor, we invite you to deliver the presidential address. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello. A warm good evening to all of you. And I would like to mention and acknowledge the presence of Dr. Alexis Eka, Reverend Dr. Alexis Eka, Dr. Christodas Gandhi, Father Ranjit Kindo, Ms. Amini K, Sister Ruby Mary, Mr. Bukia Anil, Ms. Adira Narayanan, Dr. Krishnan, Mr. Kaliswamy, and of course, the director of ADI, Father Lenin Anthony, all participants in today's virtual meeting. And let me first of all place on record my thanks for permitting me to take part in this very important celebrations. The day, International Indigenous Day on Culture, Values, Rights and Issues of Adivasis in India. As we all know, we have only recently grieved the passing of a great champion of Adivasis, Reverend Father Stan Swamy. The issues for which he stood are still so relevant, still so raw, that every day there is a need for more and more activism, more and more action to get our tribal friends, the indigenous populations, to get their rights and to find their place under the sun. And for us in India, as we are all in Indians now, I feel that we still have not been able, despite the constitutional assurances and guarantees, we still have not been able to give the indigenous people their rights, and to respect their culture, values, and other aspects of their unique forms of life, way of life. Today, we pledge ourselves to recognize their achievements and contributions to society, particularly in the field of environmental protection. We know that this day was started sometime in 1994 by the UN, and the main aims are to reduce the inequalities and to uphold the human rights of the indigenous people. We know that a lot of things are being done in their name in India, in Kerala, but where have they reached finally? Have we been able to do what we need to do for them? Have we allowed them to develop and grow, to bloom and blossom, like the lovely girl sang a little while earlier, like butterflies, free? Have we allowed them to live out their life the way they would like to? I remember about more than 50 years ago when our family moved to a plantation in about 45 kilometers east of Calicut town. It was a town then. And there was a huge colony of Adivasis there. They were known as Muttans. Later we were told they are known as Muduvans. But anyway, we saw their culture, their gentle ways, lazy, which we might call when they're not interested in working every day of the week. Their way of life, friendly, sharing, and we also saw how they looked on themselves as noble personages. They felt that they were above all the others. and would not allow any of the local people, as we all were, to even enter or touch the roof of their hut. If at all, by bad luck, somebody happened to touch their house or that hut, it would immediately be burnt and they would move to another place. They had their way of hunting, their way of collecting honey, and their way of collecting herbs, vegetables which they ate, and for which they were and with which they were able to live quite well. But after so many years, today they are just a weak and almost disheartened lot. Many of them had died. Many of the families we knew are no longer there. Their young ones are, you can't differentiate them now from the rest of the population in their way of life. I remember that this is something which we are all to blame, because we have not been able to respect their culture, to respect their perspectives of life on life. We have not allowed them to live the way they want to live. And we have tried to put them in a mold in which they have never been able to fit. This is continuing all over the world, I think. In India today, we have 6.2% of global population belong to indigenous populations. India has 104 million persons of coming from, they say, 700 groups of indigenous populations. They have a vast diversity of cultures, languages, knowledge, and they have a special relationship with their land, with nature. But we have not been able to help them to grow with these lovely and beautiful notions about life, way of life, their beliefs. I hope that today's discussions and the various insights that the participants and all those working in the field of supporting and living with indigenous populations, helping them where they need help, not where we think they need help, so that they can find their place under the sun, as they say. And we can help them particularly during these COVID times when everybody is suffering, and the most vulnerable populations like the indigenous people suffer more from poverty, illnesses, discrimination. So they have a disproportionately higher level of vulnerability in this particular time. So where should the interventions be? And I think it has to be decided in a participative way where they have their say. And despite all the laws and all the legislations we have, we still are groping in the dark, I would say. I hope that the celebration of this International Indigenous Day will shed light on the path that all of us need to take, particularly those who are in the field actively helping and supporting and allowing them to live their life, their dream life. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And Father Lenin has been very kind to include me in this program. I'm very happy and grateful to you. I wish you a very, very useful and meaningful discussions, talks, and taking back a lot of value-based knowledge. Thank you very much. I will be dropping out for a few minutes, maybe half an hour to join for another program, but I would love to come back and hear the rest of the program. Thank you very much. With these words, I close my presidential address.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable words. Now we have Tejal Gamut with us. Let us hear the theme song.
Yes, ma'am, it is there. Ma'am, you can also listen to that song. It's Jai Jai Adivasi, written by Agape Tirki, a man from Jesuit from Madhya Pradesh, and the song composed by our one who is going to inaugurate, Dr. Alex Eka. So now let us listen to the song. So now the Miss Tejal Gamit TH is not there. Okay, she's going to sing now. Tejal, are you ready?
Yes, Father.
Yes, start.
Jago, Adivasi Jago, Jago, Jai Adivasi Jago, Jago, Jai Adivasi Jago, 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 Jago. उत्तर दक्षिण पूर्व पश्चिम आदिवासी देश के कोने कोने, उत्तर दक्षिण पूर्व पश्चिम आदिवासी देश के कोने कोने। जागो आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो 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 जागो। हिंदू मुस्लिम सिख ईसाई आदिवासी तेरी पहली पहचान, हिंदू मुस्लिम सिख ईसाई आदिवासी तेरी पहली पहचान। जागो आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो 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 जागो। जल जंगल जल जमीन आदिवासी यही तो तेरी जान, जल जंगल जल जमीन आदिवासी यही तो तेरी जान। जागो आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो 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 जागो। जाति पाति ऊंची नीची आदिवासी नहीं है तेरी शान, जाति पाति ऊंची नीची आदिवासी नहीं है तेरी शान। जागो आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो 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 जागो। आदिवासी भारतवासी आदिवासी जागो, जय जय जवान, आदिवासी भारतवासी आदिवासी जागो, जय जय जवान। जागो आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो जागो, जय जय आदिवासी जागो 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 जागो। जय आदिवासी
जय
जागो
आदिवासी।
आदिवासी,
Wow.
जागो आदिवासी, जय
Thank you,
आदिवासी।
Jai Adivasi.
for singing the song. Jai Adivasi. Okay, continue.
Wow, that was really sung from the heart. Thank you, Miss Tejal Gamit. Now let us raise our voice for Adivasis. Let's together say, Jai Adivasi, Jago
Jai
Adivasi,
जय
Adivasi.
आदिवासी,
Jago Adivasi.
Jago Adivasi.
जागो आदिवासी।
Jago Adivasi.
Now it's the time for inauguration of the webinar, and we are fortunate to have with us Dr. Alex Eka, SJ. Currently, he is director and the professor of St. Xavier's College, Ranchi, and also in charge of Tribal Research Center. He has been honored with various national and international awards. Father, we welcome you to inaugurate the webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Respected Father P.S. Lenin Anthony, SJ, Director Adi, Honorable Miss Lida Jacob, retired President KAPS, Honorable Dr. Christodas Gandhi, IAS retired, former Secretary of SCST Department, Tamil Nadu, respected panelists, Miss Amini, Tribal Activist cum Director, Uru, Wayanad, Father Ranjit Kindo, SJ, Director, Tribal Research cum Training Center, Chaibasa, Jharkhand, Mr. Bukhia Anil, PhD Research Scholar in the Department of Social Work in Central University of Karnataka, Sister Ruby Mary Kujur, OSU, National Coordinator, Lokmanch Delhi, Miss Athira Narayanan, ICTS Supervisor, TVM and PhD Research Scholar, Mr. Kalisme S. Health Inspector, Attapadi, Dr. Krishnan K. Secretary, National Adivasi Solidarity Council, NASC, and the participants to this national webinar. It's my pleasure to inaugurate the national webinar on the cultural values, rights, and the issues of Adivasis in India at the 27th International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples, organized by ADI, Attapadi, Kerala, in association with Lok Manch, Attapadi Unit, and KAPS, that is Kerala Association of Professional Social Workers, today, 9th August, this evening. National webinar has rightly focused the major themes of indigenous peoples. Cultural values, rights and issues of the Adivasis in India. These themes once again reiterate what the United Nations has declared for the world's indigenous peoples. That is,
Father, kindly unmute, Father. Kindly unmute. Father, yeah. One minute. Father, sorry. Could you unmute?
I have unmuted.
Okay, now it's okay. Yeah, some more. Okay. Yes, Father. Now you can unmute and speak. Now unmute, Father. Yeah, now you can speak.
Okay, yeah. Right. Now, the United Nations has already stressed that the indigenous people have a different culture and socioeconomic and political systems. And they also reside in specific territories in different parts of the country. And all the same, they have been oppressed and suppressed from the centuries. Now, what is the significance of this national webinar today in the 21st century? The pandemic novel coronavirus 19 is ravaging the world's populations, including the indigenous peoples, especially in India. I see the following points of relevance of today's national webinar. Number one, that we celebrate life with the indigenous peoples. Two, that we share our joys and sorrows with one another. Three, that we discuss our struggles and movements with one another. Four, that we learn from one another's best practices and achievements. And five, that we cherish our age-old wisdom and share the various innovations we make in our socioeconomic and politico-cultural lives as per our needs and aspirations. And to Capitol this year, we learn from the martyrdom of Father Stan Swami SJ for the Adivasi cause. We know that today is the 36th day after his demise on 5th July at the Holy Family Hospital, Mumbai, as an under trial of Tiloja jail in Mumbai. We know that he was a martyr for the tribal cause. He was asking for justice for the hundreds of under trials who are innocently rotting in different jails. What an irony that a person who fought the legal battle on behalf of the innocent under trials himself became an under trial and before he could get bail and eventually be heard in the court, died because of the inordinate delay in dispensing justice by the court. Friends, Father Stan Swami was not an Adivasi, but a friend of the Adivasis. Though he hailed from Tamil Nadu, he chose to live and work among the Adivasis of Jharkhand, especially among the Hos of Singhbhum. He loved their Adivasi culture, and his heart wept when they were oppressed and exploited, especially with regard to land alienation for development projects. He joined their protest movements against inhuman displacement. He did research and publication on development-induced displacement and rehabilitation, where the Adivasi people had to sacrifice their lands for national development, but themselves had to be relegated to increasing misery and poverty without proper resettlement and rehabilitation. Father Stan Swami stood by the Adivasi people when they were falsely implicated as Naxalites and Maoists, and was arrested as anti-nationals when they protested forcible land alienation for development projects. It was for his solidarity with the Adivasis in their struggle for and rights that Father Stan was implicated as having links with the Naxalite and the Maoist outfits, and was arrested for the concocted and planted messages on his laptop that he was party to the Algar Parishad, which was accused of violence in Pune on 1st January 2018 for being in collusion with the anti-nationals. Father Stan Swami was a Jesuit priest and a committed social activist. We must learn from him as how, being a religious, he could live up to the norms of the Society of Jesus and yet be committed for social justice, particularly to the Adivasi people. This makes me to urge all the non-Adivasi social activists to emulate the life and example of Father Stan Swami. This would be a real solidarity with the Adivasis in the struggle for their rights. And I'm sure there are many like Father Stan Swami committing their lives for the cause of the Adivasis in different parts of the country. We thank them as we salute Father Stan Swami for his martyrdom and life commitment to the cause of the indigenous peoples. Let this national webinar on 27th International Day of the World's Indigenous Peoples being organized this evening be in similar vein of commitment to the cause of the Adivasi people in India, since they are no less the honorable citizens of our country. With these words, I declare the national webinar open. Thank you. Jai Bharat. Jai Adivasi.
Jai Adivasi.
Jai Adivasi. Thank you, sir, for lighting the event with your enlightening words and inspiring us with your thoughts. Next, I invite Mr. Kristudas Gandhi, IAS, who is the former secretary of SG and SG's department, Tamil Nadu. He was the chairman of Social Just Empowerment, additional chief secretary, Development Commission of Planning, and with great honor, we welcome you, sir, to give the keynote address.
I hope I am audible and visible.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
But it is.
Thank you very much.
Your mic is not straight, sir.
Beg your pardon?
It's in imported.
Video.
My video.
சரிஞ்சிருக்கு சார் நேரா
Want me to?
Yes, now okay, now okay. Now okay. Perfectly.
I can't see my figure here.
Yes.
Can you remove this slide and put my picture?
Yes,
there?
yes. Aju, could you remove the slide? Yes. Yes, sir. Now
Thank you
it's
very
clear.
much for inviting me for this very key and important webinar. And my greetings to every one of the indigenous people all over the world. The indigenous people who are closest to nature. They are the most natural human beings in the world, and therefore my special praise to them. Although I am not a tribesman, I have a lot of love and regard for those people, for many of their virtues and not for their sufferings. I am standing before you with the credential that in the last 1 decade or so, I've been very closely associating myself with at least 16 tribes people in Tamil Nadu. Now, I'm not going to talk on sharing my experiences with the tribes. It is one thing that we go about defining the anthropological details of the tribes and the various cultural values and other values they have. This is a very vital thing which needs to be continued. The only appeal I would like to make is that we should encourage more of the tribesmen themselves to do documentations of their own features, whatever that be. Along with this search of their identity by going into the past history, there's one more vital thing that we have to launch. That is to find the roadmap of the future of these people. This is a very vital thing. Just going back to the history and then establishing their identity of the past is only going to help them in strengthening their morale and their self-esteem. But then they have to also progress into the future, which is much, much different from what was the past. The universe is evolving, and therefore they should also evolve. So this is where I'm saying that we have to define very categorically what should their focus be for their future development. I would like to just flag 3 aspects, 3 broad aspects. I will not go into the particular nuances of these areas. The people will understand what we need to do in all that. Number 1 is attaining higher education. This is a very vital aspect. Number 2, doing micro planning for the tribes. No macro planning or no universal planning or no just unique planning for tribes as such will help these tribes people who are so diverse. The people are diverse, their living conditions are diverse, their habitations are so varied, and therefore there cannot be any uniform solution to their needs. I wouldn't say sufferings, but needs. And number 3, and the most vital of that, is asserting their rights over the natural resources. Their right over the natural resources, as well as the modus operandi of harnessing the richness of these natural resources. These 3 aspects I find is is very key for modern development of these people. If you go into, I won't say that the tribes of India at least were suppressed or oppressed. I don't think any tribe in India were ever suppressed or oppressed by anybody in the country. On the other hand, if we have a close study of history, we'll find that the only people that the British fellows could not conquer or subjugate are these tribes people in India. They had their own free living. They had a very free social living of their own in every place. And it was not a poverty-stricken living. Their living was remote, that's different. Remoteness for the good. Because had they been closer to the other humanity, which is now exploiting them, they would have been a different feature altogether. But they had their own kind of autonomous regimes, politics, economic-wise, as well as cultural. So we should not look at these people as either oppressed people, or suppressed people, or vulnerable people. We should not address their vulnerability to provide certain things. We should, on the other hand, because most of the planning I know starts with mentioning of their vulnerabilities and trying to do something. People presume that they are houseless. And then they say, okay, then we have to provide houses. We should realize that in modern times right now, many of us go to the resorts to live in tree houses, paying not less than 10,000 rupees a day. So that is the richness of the house they had. They were living in those houses. That is where, so we don't treat them as houseless creatures. They had their own living, own abode over them. If we want to bring them to modernity, that is where we have to bring in innovations. Not because they were houseless, but because they need to move into a different world altogether. So that is their futuristic growth perspective. So we have to, instead of planning anything for their vulnerability, we have to plan for the vitality they have, the vibrance they have, the virtues they have. It's immense. Whether it is a physical demonstration or the creativeness, it's an immense thing, immense potentials are there. So that is where, if we plan for that, then we will take them, then they will progress. It's no question of we taking them to a different level. They have to progress to a different level, higher level. They will progress on a different level altogether. But instead, if we keep on thinking of them as houseless, dressless, letterless, moneyless, and that is where we start going on measures of alleviations. So we have to adopt this different perspective of their vitality, vibrance. So this is where these three things count. So if somebody says that we have to provide education to them because they are illiterate, it is wrong. It is wrong. Yadum yure yavarum failure. This is now echoing all over the world. And this Sangam poetry, they're not, I wouldn't call it a poetry of philosophy, a human philosophy. It's by Thaniyan Pungutunar. Thaniyan is a tribesman even today in Tamil Nadu. Well, how can we say that they are letterless? For that matter, till about 1850 in India, nobody was educated in higher education. We got universities only in 1850. Before that, everybody was letterless. 80% of the people were illiterate. So don't identify that why higher education for tribes is not because they were illiterate, because they were the wisest of the people in the world. So we have to provide that opportunity to them so that they escalate themselves to higher realms of knowledge. Because the knowledge that they possess is so pure, so natural, so innovative. So all these things will come out from them. It is not as if a help that we render to provide education to them. So therefore, higher education. These days there is no problem in fitting these people into higher education. Number two, regarding this micro level planning. Why I say micro level planning is this. If you study the demography of the tribes all over the world, why not? All over the world or all over India or to specific states. For example, in Tamil Nadu, you can't compare one Malayali tribe to a Kadar tribe. Malayalis are 4 lakhs in number, Kadars are less than 500 in numbers. So you can't be providing them the same kind of a solution for a Malayali and a Kadar. You can't compare a Kani to a Paliyar. Kanis have lands, sumptuous lands they have. They are known as Kanis because Kani means land, a measure of a land. Because certain measures of land were given to these Kanis in Kanyakumari district, the present Kanyakumari districts, they were known as Kanis. So they have land. And if you want to do a planning for Kanis, you have to plan for land development and not for providing land. But you can't apply the same thing to a Paliyar because Paliyars are landless. Irreless are landless. So there it's a different, every one of them, there are 36 tribes in Tamil Nadu, 16 we can identify as the major ones here. They were key ones, the others are in sundries. So you have to have not just 16 different approaches for the 16 tribes, even amongst the same tribes, you will have to have different approaches. For Irreless, for example, there are Irreless in Ooty. There are Irreless all over in the plains of about 10 districts here. You can't plan for the Irreless of the they become part of the particularly vulnerable tribal group in India, PVTGs as we call them. So you can't take the same measure that you take to the Ooty Irreler to somebody living in Tiruvallur. Tiruvallur Irreler were wasted for about 3 generations in bonded labor. But you cannot apply the same thing. You can't call the Ooty people, Ooty tribes, Ooty Irreless as bonded laborers. They were not. They were never a bonded laborer. So therefore, we need to do micro planning as applicable to every different tribes and different locations of the same tribes. So this is very key. It's currently lacking. It's currently lacking. Therefore, I will appeal to not only the people who think for the tribes, the people who plan for the tribes, but also the tribesmen themselves to think of their own kind of solutions they want to have with respect to their own locality. This is the micro level, the emphasis on micro level planning. This is diametrically opposite to what is being propounded decade after decade That is mainstreaming these people. There is no destructive thing than mainstreaming these people. Once we say mainstreaming them means taking them out of their roots and absorbing them into our own outlook of life, which is disastrous. So we should not have this approach of mainstreaming the tribes. We should only do things of upskilling them, uplifting them, perhaps, if you want to say that. So this is the key thing about microplanning. There are very funny things happen in the planning process. For example, in Tamil Nadu, in tribal subplan, you have about 100 crores being spent for tribes for Palmyra propagation. You know what a Palmyra is, Panemaram. I think Kerala also it's known as Panemaram, and Tamil Nadu also it's known as Panemaram. There, you can't find one Palmyra tree in any one of the places where these tribals live in Tamil Nadu. The Panemaras don't grow on the hills. As far as I know, there is no Panemaram in any one of the habitations where these tribes live. But then in our planning process, simply because somebody says in the mainstream planning, we should propagate Palmyra, and then that percentage of money in the budget is allocated for Palmyra propagation for tribes. So this is the danger of mainstreaming. Finally, I'm saying before independence, I don't think the tribes were so exploited as such. I don't think, maybe before the 1880 when the Forest Act was enacted. The Forest Act of 1880 is the first time when their land, that is the forest, were stripped away from them and the right was vested in the government. That is what is called the Forest Act of 1880. The Forest Act was not brought in for the growth of the forest or maintenance of the forest. If you read the objective of the Forest Act of 1880, you will find that the act is getting introduced for working the forests. What is working the forests? Cutting away the trees for modern growth processes. That is why all the Valpare forests were denuded of those precious trees for preparing the what do you call the wooden thing that is placed before the rails? That for preparing the sleepers for rails. That is called working the forests. How to cut the woods in phases. That is the act. The act does not speak about the preservation or the growth of the forests. Till then, 1980, the forests belonged to the dwellers in the forest themselves. They had so much of liberty to move around, do anything they want. They were doing like that only. And then after 1947, when the economic processes started, the people have started exploiting the natural resources from them. Honey these days, the honey is only a very minor part of the overall package of minor parts produce. The money, you should know, is not being it's not It is not a trading commodity of the tribes. They are only used to gather honey. But the commodity was usurped with the forest department. They auctioned the money. They auctioned the honey. They auction all the minor forest produce. The minor forest produce is the wealth of the tribes. Fortunately, we have got a wonderful act in 2006, the Tribal Forest Rights Act. Please don't call this as a Forest Rights Act, FRA, they call it. It will give to a lot of misleading meaning. Forest Rights Act would mean the right that you confer on the Forest Department. On the other hand, the tribes and the forest dwellers, Forest Rights Act, that's how it's named. It took away all interventions of the Forest Department in the forests against tribes. So that's why please call it a Tribal Rights Act or Tribal Forest Rights Act. It talks of the tribes' right over the forest. So this will have to, we have to train, that's why I say that tribes are not poverty-stricken people. They are sitting over crores of, thousands of crores of rupees of wealth. In Tamil Nadu alone, I'm not talking about the other wealth they have, but I'm talking about only the so-called minor forest produce, which will be available in Tamil Nadu. It is easily worth 1,000 crores a year. This is the value of the minor forest produce. The mines is a mind-blowing number, as they have in Madhya Pradesh and elsewhere in Jharkhand and all that, where all kinds of problems are brewing. So in Tamil Nadu, there are hardly about 1 lakh tribes. 1 lakh, 1,000 crore of minor forest produce is their wealth, just divided amongst 1 lakh people. Each family will get 1 lakh a year, which is not a mean money. This is only one part of it. And who knows what mineral wealth is lying behind the earth? We don't know. Madhya Pradesh, at least we know. So this is where the exploitation of the tribes started taking place. Before that, they were so free. Now, the independent India is only not allowing them to have a free enjoyment of their own wealth. That is what I am calling the own natural resources. So this is where we have to train these people to claim their sovereignty over this wealth, the natural resources. And not only that, not only claiming the right over that, we should also train them how to harness this wealth for their material progress. This is one area where they will not be having so much of knowledge. How to market a minor forest produce. They only know how to gather honey by climbing trees in the height of a hill, but they don't know how to market it. They are selling honey for pittance of money even now. I know of this story in Haryana where one lady is making a multinational sale of this honey gathered by tribes people. Hundreds of crores of turnover there. So this particular skill of harnessing the wealth or marketing of this wealth is one key thing that we have to inculcate in the tribes. We have to reveal these things to them. Maybe many of them are not aware of the wealth generation of the resources they possess. So,
sir, our time
I'm finishing.
Yes,
so
sir.
therefore, with these three things, I know that you are also you are the very few people in India who are closely interacting with these tribes. You are doing enormous jobs. I know that. In addition to whatever you are doing, If we can concentrate on these three major areas, we would have done a lot to these people. Thank you very much. And I wish all the tribes 100 times the progress they have right now. Thank you. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enriching us with your words of wisdom. Now, we are entering into the panel discussion. There are 7 eminent personalities lined up for the panel discussion on the topic culture values, rights, and issues of Adivasis in India. First, I invite Ms. Ammini, who is a tribal activist and director of Ure Wayanad. We heartily welcome you, ma'am.
She was there. She's also sick. She told me call the second one. When she enters, after some test, we can call the second panelist.
Okay, sure, sir. So we'll move on to the second panelist. So now I invite Father Ranjit Kindo SJ. He's the director of Tribal Research and Training Center, Chaipas, Jharkhand. The floor is open to you, sir. Father Ranjit Kindo, sir.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You're perfectly audible.
Yes. Okay, hello, Johar, everybody.
Johar.
Johar, yes.
Johar means
So,
namaste, vanakkam.
PS, how much time do I get here?
10 minutes maximum.
Let's see, I'll try to shorten it up. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, at the outset, I would like to thank you, PS, for giving me this opportunity to really share about the tribals of Chota Nagpur, their values and issues. Let me just start with the whole word Johar, which is a warm wish for all of you to be happy and to remain happy forever. And this is what the tribals of Chota Nagpur have wished for you all. Actually, when we are saying the tribals of Chota Nagpur, I mean the tribals around Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal, Chhattisgarh, which is actually a greater Jharkhand. So I speak on behalf of them. So that is the thing. So friends, before entering into the values of the tribals of Chota Nagpur, I'd like to share with you this whole idea that Johar has. It's a very rich word, and it is only very lately that I also, though being around tribal myself, started thinking seriously about this word and trying to find out the meaning of this word Johar. And today I have come to understand the meaning, which is so deep for all of us, that we wish everybody, even to our friends and to our foes also, happiness for all. That is what this word Johar means. And I think there is nothing more valuable value than this. Wishing somebody Johar, happiness for everybody, even foes also, enemies also. So that is what actually the value is there. When we think of our tribal values here in Chota Nagpur, definitely I understand values for us means definitely what is desirable. And if you think of what is desirable in life, then our tribals of Chota Nagpur have many things. As other societies, they also have many beautiful values among them. But I would like to specify some of the values which are actually very important for us today, thinking of the context that we have today. First of all, as we also know in the beginning, in the keynote address, and also some of the speakers like initial speakers have said, definitely tribals are very close to nature. In fact, nature is the basis of their existence, their name and their fame. So nature is the very basis thing. Even Father Matthew Ari Parampil, one of the founding directors of Tribal Research and Training Center, once said that for tribals, land is like homologous to their blood. That means they mean it so much, so close to it. So they derive their surname from nature, we know, and also they are so close to nature that they are with nature, definitely, and they share whatever nature has given to them with others. So that is the kind of closeness, the value that they have, and which is so important today in the world where we are thinking of all this environmental pollution, ecological destruction and all. No? So this is a very beautiful value which actually can be a big contribution to the world today. The second thing which I would like to highlight with regard to the values of tribals is here in Jharkhand is the value of community. For them, for us, community is the most important thing actually. Of course, individuals make community, but community is the thing for us, and everything revolves around community. If you think of the life cycles, different activities, different celebrations, you see how our tribals come together in community. And today, even today, despite so much of onslaughts, so much of difficulties, so much of struggles, they continue to exist today. It is because of the community, sense of community that they have, which they cherish today, even today. So this is one another value which really is very important for the tribals of Chotanagpur. Third value which I would like to really highlight is the value of equality among us. Like tribals all over the country, our tribals are actually they really like this value of equality, and therefore there is no question of any high or low in the society. There's no difference between man and woman. Even a child is born in the family, all, whether it is a girl or a boy, all celebrate. And in the society, this sense of equality is very strong. And I think that the world today needs to learn something from this particular value. The fourth value which I would like to really underline is the value of self-determination. We know they have their own systems of governance. Even today, in their own places, in their own areas, they have the self-rule system, which even now continues and governs. Decisions for their own development are taken in consensus. So consensus plays a very important role in the life of the tribals so far as their community life is concerned. Unfortunately, today these values are not really recognized by the mainstream society, and that's why this leads us to the whole question of issues that we have. We know it very well. These values are there, but today their values are not respected. As Miss Lida also pointed out that they have beautiful things, but how far have we been respecting them? How far are we allowing them to really grow as they like to grow, develop as they like to develop? So this is where the problem lies there, and then the issues come up. So when you think of the issues, maybe in the next slide, PS, issues, if you think of issues, I like to bring in here 3-4 issues which are very important for me personally. First thing is the non-implementation of the provisions of 5th schedule. We know it very well that Article 244, number 1 and 2 gives power to tribals for total self-rule and control over themselves and all that they have, means all natural resources that they have. But this is only on papers. We know here in Jharkhand itself how in 2015 single window system was actually introduced here, so that really the corporates, they can come in, buy land, and make use of the land. Similarly, we had we know it very well, on 16th and 17th February 2017, we had Jharkhand Momentum was organized by the government, the then government that time, and we had a almost 200 multinational companies, both from the international companies plus even national companies, came forward to get so it is for them, despite this land being the 5th schedule area, somehow the provisions are not being really implemented, and everything is being opened for the big companies, and this is somehow really destroying the whole thing that they have actually. The second thing, which is also very true, is the fact of the displacement of tribals in the name of development. We have so many examples, and after independence, we have seen how the whole industrialization has taken place, how the plans have been done. So many programs and projects are in the name of our tribals, but somehow they are the projects and programs which are actually seemingly meant to be for tribals, but somehow they are simply meant for displacement of our tribals. So today, this is a very serious issue that we have here. And then also we have migration. Definitely, a lot of people are actually migrating from this place, our land. And I think this is a kind of, I would say, deliberately made situation. We don't help tribals develop themselves in their own place, and put them in such a compulsive situation where they are forced to migrate, so that their resources, human resources, can be used or misused. So this is a huge issue that we face today in Chotanagpur. The third very existential question, the issue is of conversion. Conversion is a real issue, definitely. Okay, I would say the people blame that there is a large conversion to Christianity. Okay, to some extent it might be true, but what is really hidden and what is not really spoken is the fact that today, if you see the government records in the state, you have very quietly this whole conversion of tribals is being done by the mainstream society, and it is it's not in the census, you are not allowing them to have their own religion code, and then putting most of the tribals, certain tribals, those who want to really profess their own religion, whatever religion that they have, but putting them quietly, clandestinely in Hindu fold. This is also a huge problem. I just have to give you a simple example. Hardly we have 3.5% of Christians here in tribals as Christians in Chotanagpur area, but we have nearly 40% of tribals, Sarna brethren, are completely Hinduized. So that is the reality. So this is actually, it's not any kind of blame game, but this is a reality, and I think the tribals have to be left to decide for themselves where they want to really belong, how they want to develop themselves and maintain their own religion that they have. The fourth issue which I would like to highlight here is the whole lack of livelihood options here. It is true that this is the land where we have so much of natural resources, but people are completely dependent only on rain-fed agriculture. And then we see, despite efforts, the schemes meant for livelihood promotion hardly reach villages, and therefore people are forced to go outside for their livelihood. So this lack of livelihood option is also a big issue, and it really affects the rural Chota Nagpur. So these are the issues that we have. But the real issues are non-implementation of the provisions of fifth schedule, and also the displacement and migration of tribals of Chota Nagpur to other parts of India for search of jobs. While we're discussing this, I would like to also put a few recommendations. Government so far has the responses of tribals. There has been history of resistance and collective struggle in the land of Chota Nagpur. Even today, we know the whole struggle of Father Stan, how Father Stan really joined movements and also helped people to really struggle for their rights. And this has been a history of tribals here, of different resistance movements. And I think this response needs to be continued. The struggle needs to be continued. I'd like to say a few things about recommendations that we need to have. Government must really seriously implement the provisions of its schedule. This is what I think we need to really ask the government to do. We know there are facilities, not TAC tribal as advisory council is there, but hardly anything is being planned. Governor is the in charge there of the scheduled areas there, but so far no rules, no plans have been made by the governor. So this is a very sad thing, and I think we must very strongly recommend this fact that in the scheduled areas, governor should really plan things for the development of the tribals. And along with this, I should also recommend that all well-wishers and the tribals themselves must fight for their constitutional rights. It's a very high time that we need to continue to fight for the recognition of our tribal rights, actually, constitutional rights. Finally, I would like to say that honesty and hard work are the hidden powerful values of tribals. Honesty and hard work have been the hidden powerful values of tribals. So they must, together with all well-wishers and supporters of their cause, use these values for the realization of their just constitutional rights to exist as tribals in the country. Friends, we know that our tribals here in Chota Nagpur have, like tribals of other parts in the country, have beautiful values, and we need to really help them to really live out these values fully, freely, everywhere. And I think we know all those social activists and well-wishers of and supporters of tribal cause must really work hard to help our tribals to really get their constitutional rights to exist as tribals in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for throwing some light upon tribals in Nagpur and their values. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Ammini, who is a tribal activist and director of Uru Wayanad. We heartily welcome you, ma'am. Ms. Ammini, ma'am.
Ammini.
Okay.
Yeah.
Namaskaram. Okay, Krishna sir, hi.
How are you, Ammini?
I am fine.
All these great activists come together in the common platform.
Good to see you, Amini, after long time.
Yes. Dr. Krishna has just joined, so he's wishing. He had another meeting with IAS officers and ministers and MPs. So just he has joined. Dr. Krishna, welcome, Dr. Krishna. I think you may be the last one, but you are important person. So we give others a chance.
Please go ahead.
Okay.
Please
Now,
go
Ammani
ahead.
Chechi, yeah, please. Ms. Ammani.
Amini.
ഓക്കെ താങ്ക് യു. എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. ഇന്ന് ലോക ആദിവാസി ദിനം രാജ്യമെമ്പാടും ആഘോഷിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ദിവസമാണ് ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 9.
Celebrate the International Indigenous Day. പറഞ്ഞോളൂ.
ആദിവാസി സമൂഹത്തിന്റെ ഉന്നമനം ലക്ഷ്യമാക്കി 1994 ഓഗസ്റ്റ് 9 മുതൽ എല്ലാ വർഷവും ഐക്യരാഷ്ട്രസഭയുടെ തീരുമാനപ്രകാരം ഈ ഒരു പരിപാടി ആദിവാസി ഗ്രാമങ്ങളും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സംഘടനകളും ദേശീയ തലത്തിലും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ സംഘടനകളെല്ലാം തന്നെ ചർച്ച ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ദിവസമാണിന്ന്.
From 1994 onwards, all over the world, globally, people are discussing the issues of indigenous people.
ലോകത്തിന്റെ കാപാട്യങ്ങൾക്കും കൃത്രിമത്വത്തിന്റെയും അപ്പുറം ദൂരെ പ്രകൃതിയുടെ മടിത്തട്ടിൽ ജീവജാലങ്ങളും താരതമ്യം പ്രാപിച്ച് ജീവിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വിഭാഗം ആണ് ആദിവാസി വിഭാഗങ്ങൾ.
Tribals are eco-friendly people, live with nature.
ലോകമെമ്പാടുമുള്ള 300 ദശലക്ഷം ആദിവാസികൾ 70 രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ ഇന്നും യാതൊരു പരിരക്ഷയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ നമുക്ക് അർഹിക്കുന്ന നിയമങ്ങളെല്ലാം പലതരത്തിൽ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടും അതിനെല്ലാം തന്നെ വലിയ കൊടിയ മനുഷ്യാവകാശ ലംഘനങ്ങൾക്ക് വിധേയമായിക്കൊണ്ട് ജീവിക്കുന്ന ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ആണ് നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്ത് ഇപ്പോൾ നിലനിൽക്കുന്നത്.
Even in India, there are so many legislations, laws are there to protect and secure our tribal people, but we notice there are so many human right violations take place in our country. Continue.
തദ്ദേശ ജനതയുടെ അവകാശങ്ങളും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അധികാര വിഭവങ്ങൾ മേലുള്ള അവകാശങ്ങളെല്ലാം തന്നെ ഇന്നും സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം കിട്ടിയ ഇത്രയും കാലങ്ങളായിട്ടും ഇന്നും നഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന അതുപോലെ തന്നെ വലിയൊരു സമരമുഖത്ത് നിൽക്കുന്ന എവിടെ നോക്കിയാലും നമ്മുടെ രാജ്യത്തിന്റെ വിവിധ ഭാഗങ്ങളിലും ആദിവാസി ജനങ്ങൾ ഇന്നും ഭൂമിക്ക് വേണ്ടി മുറവിളി കൂട്ടുന്ന മുന്നേറ്റങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഗങ്ങളാണ് നമുക്ക് പലയിടങ്ങളിലും കാണാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നത്.
In our own land, we have to fight for our own land, which we lose, especially our natural resources are lost, and we have to protest in order to get our own land in our resources.
ഇന്ന് ലോക ആദിവാസി ദിനാചരണത്തിന്റെ ഭാഗമായി സർക്കാർ മുന്നോട്ട് വെച്ച ചില കാര്യങ്ങളുണ്ട്. ഇന്ന് കൊറോണയുടെ പിടിയിൽ നിന്ന് മഹാമാരിയിൽ നിന്നും മനുഷ്യര് വളരെയധികം കഷ്ടതകൾ അനുഭവിക്കുമ്പോൾ തദ്ദേശ ജനതയുടെ പ്രദേശങ്ങളിൽ അതാത് ഊരുകളിൽ തന്നെ ഗോത്ര ഭാഷയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ എസ് ടി പ്രമോട്ടർമാര് ആദിവാസി പ്രവർത്തകർ എല്ലാവരും ഉപയോഗിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഈ പറയുന്ന കോവിഡ് മഹാമാരിക്കെതിരെ പ്രതിരോധ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളും ബോധവൽക്കരണ പരിപാടികളും നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ഈ ഒരു സാഹചര്യത്തിൽ ഇത് മാത്രമല്ല നമ്മുടെ പ്രശ്നങ്ങള്.
Okay, what she says is the government is trying to give awareness with regard to COVID-19 with using our tribal promoters and others, and it is not the major thing, corona. There are many other issues our tribal people are facing. ചേച്ചി പറഞ്ഞോ.
ഞാൻ പറയാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്ന കാര്യം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് കൊറോണയെക്കാളും ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ഭീകരമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു വൈറസ് ആണ് ഇന്ന് സർക്കാരിന്റെ ഭാഗത്തു നിന്നും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പോലീസ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിന്റെ ഭാഗത്തു നിന്നും ഒരു എന്താ പറയാ അതിക്രമങ്ങളും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഭീകരമായിട്ടുള്ള അന്തരീക്ഷങ്ങളും ആദിവാസി മേഖലയിൽ സൃഷ്ടിച്ചു കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് ഇന്ന്.
We notice even violation takes up from the part of government as well as police department, others they also violate, or that is a more dangerous virus than corona. That's what she says.
ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ ഈ ആദിവാസി ദിനാചരണം ആഘോഷിക്കുന്ന ഈ വേളയില് നമുക്കൊക്കെ അറിയാം, കേരളത്തിലെ ജനങ്ങൾക്കറിയാം ഇന്നലെയൊക്കെ അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ ആദിവാസി നേതാവായിട്ടുള്ള VS മുരുകൻ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ പിതാവായിട്ടുള്ള ചൊറിയൻ മൂപ്പൻ, ഇവർക്ക് നേരെ പോലീസ് സൃഷ്ടിച്ച എന്താ പറയാ സംഘർഷാവസ്ഥ, മനഃപൂർവ്വം ബോധപൂർവം ഇവിടെ പല രീതിയിലുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്ന ആളുകളെ ഇല്ലായ്മ ചെയ്യുന്നതിനുള്ള ഏറ്റവും വലിയ ഒരു എന്താ പറയാ പോലീസിന്റെ ഭാഗത്തു നിന്ന് ഉണ്ടാവുന്ന ഒരു ഏറ്റവും വലിയൊരു വെല്ലുവിളി തന്നെയാണ് ഇന്നലെ അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുള്ളത്. നേരത്തെ ഫാദർ അലക്സ് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ തന്നെ നമ്മുടെ മൺമറഞ്ഞ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ മുൻപ് നമ്മൾ ഇത്രയും ദിവസങ്ങളെല്ലാം ചർച്ച ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ട നമ്മുടെ ഫാദർ സ്റ്റാൻ സ്വാമി നിലകൊണ്ടതും ഇവിടുത്തെ പാർശ്വവൽക്കരിക്കപ്പെട്ട ജാർഖണ്ഡിലെ തദ്ദേശീയ ജനതയുടെ അവകാശങ്ങളും അവരുടെ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളും പ്രശ്നങ്ങളിലും ഇടപെട്ടുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഈ ഒരു കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി ഇടപെട്ട ആളുകളെ തന്നെ ഇതുപോലെ രാജ്യദ്രോഹ കുറ്റങ്ങൾ ചുമത്തിക്കൊണ്ട് കേസുകൾ ചാർജ് ചെയ്ത് അറസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു രീതിയാണ് സർക്കാരിന്റെ ഭാഗത്ത് നിന്ന് നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. അതിന്റെ ഒരു ഭാഗമാണ് ഇന്നലെ അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ നടന്നത്.
What she was telling is, yesterday in our place Attapadi, police went to a family and the village head, we call Mupan, and his son was arrested and taken to the police station. And due to their, it is a hamlet between two families issue, but early morning police went and arrested and some violation took place. This, she says, it cannot be tolerated. Like Stan Sami, when you speak for justice and truth, you are also attacked or noticed. So marginalized people face so many this kind of human right violation, and we are also even filed under anti-national act and so on. So that's what her concern she is expressing. Yeah.
കേരളത്തിലെ ട്രൈബൽ താലൂക്കായിട്ട് പ്രഖ്യാപിച്ച ഒരു ജില്ലയാണ് അട്ടപ്പാടി മേഖലയിലെ ഈ പറയുന്ന കുറുമ്പ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ മുടുകരൊക്കെ താമസിക്കുന്ന ഈ ഏരിയയിൽ തന്നെ ഊരുമൂപ്പന്മാരുടെ പെർമിഷൻ ഒന്നും കൂടാതെ തന്നെ പുറത്തുള്ള ആളുകൾ പ്രവേശിക്കാൻ പാടില്ലാത്ത ഒരു സ്ഥലത്ത് പോലീസ് അത്ര അതിഭീകരമായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു അന്തരീക്ഷം അവിടെ സൃഷ്ടിക്കപ്പെടുമ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു എതിർക്കുന്ന ആളുകളെ അവിടെ ഊരിലുള്ള 10ഓളം പേരുടെ ആളുകളുടെ പേരിലും കേസാക്കുകയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഈ സംഭവവുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട് ആക്ഷൻ കൗൺസിൽ അവിടെ SP ഹൗസിന്റെ മുമ്പിലും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പോലീസ് സ്റ്റേഷന്റെ മുൻവശങ്ങളിലും പ്രതിരോധ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് പ്രതിഷേധ പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങൾ ചെയ്തവർക്കെതിരെ തന്നെ ഇന്നലെ കേസ് രജിസ്റ്റർ ചെയ്യുന്നതിന്റെ വലിയ ഒരു കേസ് രജിസ്റ്റർ ചെയ്യാനുള്ള വലിയ തോതിലുള്ള ഒരു ഇടപെടലാണ് പോലീസിന്റെ ഭാഗത്ത് ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുള്ളത്.
അപ്പൊ ഐ തിങ്ക് അതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് കൂടുതൽ നമ്മൾ ചർച്ചയ്ക്ക് പോകണ്ട. ചേച്ചി ബാക്കി പറയേണ്ട, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ആദിവാസി ജനത്തെ നമ്മൾ ഫോക്കസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് നമ്മുടെ മൂല്യങ്ങൾ, നമ്മുടെ പൊതുവായുള്ള പ്രശ്നങ്ങളാണ്. ഒരു അട്ടപ്പാടി എന്ന സംഭവത്തിന് പല വശങ്ങളുണ്ട്, അതിന്റെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസിലേക്ക് നമ്മൾ പോകേണ്ട ആവശ്യമില്ലെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നു. ഷി വാസ് ടെല്ലിംഗ് explaining the same thing. I said let us not talk about that too much. It is still, it is various versions are there, so we don't discuss on the particular issue which happened yesterday. It is detailing we can discuss later on. Okay. Where ചേച്ചി പറഞ്ഞോളൂ, കൺക്ലൂഡ് ചെയ്ത സമയമായി.
ചർച്ച ചെയ്യേണ്ടതെന്ന് പറയപ്പെടുമ്പോഴും ഭൂമിക്ക് മേലുള്ള അവകാശങ്ങളും അധികാരങ്ങളും വിഭവങ്ങളും നഷ്ടപ്പെടുന്നതിന്റെ ഒരു വലിയ ഭാഗം തന്നെയാണ് അവിടുത്തെ ഭൂമാഫിയ സംഘവും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഗവൺമെന്റും പോലീസ് ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റും ഉണ്ടാകും എന്നുള്ള ഒരു വെല്ലുവിളി തന്നെയാണ് അവിടെ നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. അത് നമ്മൾ മറന്നുകൂടാ. ഇന്ന് നമ്മുടെ കേരളത്തിലെ നമ്മുടെ മുഴുവൻ സംഘടനകളായിട്ടും ഞാൻ ഇന്നലെയും ഇന്നും ബന്ധപ്പെട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. എല്ലാ ജില്ലാ കേന്ദ്രങ്ങളിലും സംസ്ഥാന വ്യാപകമായിട്ടുള്ള പ്രതിഷേധങ്ങൾ ഉയർത്തിക്കൊണ്ടുവരുന്നതിന്റെ ഉള്ള ഒരു പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളോട് ഞങ്ങൾ നടത്തിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്.
She is an activist. She is involving in various issues, including yesterday's thing. And the issue is land mafia issue is a major issue in all parts of Kerala also, including our area. Okay.
ഇവിടെ നമ്മുടെ അവകാശങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ ഏതെല്ലാം തരത്തിൽ കാര്യങ്ങൾ മുന്നോട്ട് വെച്ചാലും ഇവിടെ ഒരു പരിധി വരെ സന്നദ്ധ സംഘടനകളാണെങ്കിലും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ മറ്റുള്ള ഇതര സംഘടനകളാണെങ്കിലും മുന്നോട്ട് വരാൻ സാധിക്കാത്ത ഒരു സാഹചര്യമാണ് ഇവിടെ നിലനിൽക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ അതിനനുസരിച്ചുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളും ഇടപെടലും ഈ ഇത്തരം വേദികളിലും ചർച്ചകളിലും ഉണ്ടാകണം. നമ്മുടെ ആദിവാസികളുടെ ജീവിത സാഹചര്യങ്ങൾ വളരെ മോശമായ ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷനാണ് ഇപ്പൊ നേരിട്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്.
Such issues should be discussed. That's what she says. Yeah.
പ്രധാനമായിട്ടും ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള ആദിവാസി ദിനാചരണങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ സംഘടിപ്പിക്കുന്ന സമയങ്ങളില് നമ്മളെല്ലാരും വളരെ ഹാപ്പി ആയിട്ടും ആദിവാസികളുടെ പലതരത്തിലുള്ള കലാപരിപാടികളും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പാട്ടുകളും അവരുടേതായ രീതിയിലുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം തന്നെ പലതരത്തിലുള്ള പരിപാടികളാണ് മുൻകാലങ്ങളിൽ സംഘടിപ്പിച്ചത്. പക്ഷെ ഇപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് കൊറോണ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ അത്തരം കാര്യങ്ങളിലേക്ക് മുന്നോട്ട് പോകാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നില്ല. ഇന്ന് നമ്മുടെ ഏറ്റവും വലിയ നമ്മുടെ ജീവന് നേരെ നടക്കുന്ന ഏറ്റവും വലിയ വെല്ലുവിളിയിലൂടെ തന്നെയാണ് രാജ്യം കടന്നുപോയിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ദാരിദ്ര്യത്തിന്റെയും തൊഴിലില്ലായ്മയുടെയും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഭൂമിയില്ലായ്മയുടെയും എല്ലാത്തിന്റെയും വലിയ തരത്തിലുള്ള ഒരു വെല്ലുവിളി തന്നെയാണ് ഇന്ന് നമ്മുടെ തദ്ദേശ ജനത അനുഭവിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്.
So due to corona, the whole India, we are facing so many issues, especially our tribal people. I mean, lack of land, poverty, and unemployment, and so on. And usually, when we have this day, we have various cultural events and so on. Which due to corona, we are unable to have this function and big celebrations. Chichi?
അതുപോലെ തന്നെയാണ് ഇവിടുത്തെ മറ്റുള്ള നമ്മുടെ വിദ്യാഭ്യാസ മേഖലയിലാണെങ്കിൽ പോലും ഇപ്പൊ കൊറോണ ഒക്കെ വന്നിട്ട് പോലും ആദിവാസി മേഖലയിലെ ഒരുപാട് കുട്ടികൾ ഈ ഓൺലൈൻ വിദ്യാഭ്യാസത്തിന്റെ പരിധിക്ക് പുറത്താണ്. അവരുടെ കാര്യങ്ങൾ പോലും ഗവൺമെന്റ് പലതരത്തിലുള്ള പ്രവർത്തനങ്ങളെല്ലാം ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. എങ്കിൽ പോലും ട്രൈബൽ മേഖലയിൽ നമ്മൾ പരിശോധിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഇന്നും മൊബൈൽ ഫോൺ അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ലാപ്ടോപ്പ് ഇല്ലാതെ പല കുട്ടികളും പഠനം പാതി വഴി നിർത്തിയിട്ട് ഇപ്പൊ വിദ്യാഭ്യാസത്തിൽ നിന്ന് തന്നെ മാറ്റി നിർത്തപ്പെട്ട ഒരവസ്ഥയാണ് ആദിവാസി മേഖലയിൽ ഇപ്പൊ നിലവിലുള്ളത്.
Even our students, educationally, they are backward, or they feel that alienation. It's a major issue as due to corona.
നമ്മുടെ ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ പരിപാടി മുമ്പ് നടന്ന ടോക്കുകളെല്ലാം തന്നെ വളരെ ഗംഭീരമായിട്ടുള്ള വിഷയങ്ങൾ തന്നെയാണ് അവതരിപ്പിച്ചത്. നമ്മുടെ ട്രൈബൽ മേഖലയിൽ നേരിടുന്ന പ്രശ്നങ്ങളുമായി ബന്ധപ്പെട്ട പലതരത്തിലുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഇവിടെ പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞു. എനിക്ക് കൂടുതൽ കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും പറയാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു മാനസികാവസ്ഥ ആരോഗ്യ പ്രശ്നങ്ങളൊക്കെ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെ ഞാനിവിടെ എന്റെ ആശംസ പ്രസംഗം ഇവിടെ അവസാനിപ്പിക്കുന്ന രീതിയിലാണ് ഞാൻ നിൽക്കുന്നത്. എന്താണെങ്കിലും ആദ്യം സംഘടിപ്പിച്ച ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ ആദിവാസി ദിനാചരണ പരിപാടി എല്ലാരെയും കാണാനും എല്ലാവരുടെ സംഭാഷണങ്ങൾ കേൾക്കാനും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ പരിപാടിയിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കാനും ജോയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ സാധിച്ചതിലും എനിക്ക് സന്തോഷമുണ്ട്. പങ്കെടുത്ത എല്ലാവർക്കും എന്റെ പേരിലും കേരളത്തിലെ ജനങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഞാൻ ആശംസകൾ അർപ്പിക്കുന്നു. അതോടൊപ്പം ആദ്യം ഇത്തരം ഒരു അവസരം എനിക്ക് തന്നതിന് വളരെയധികം നന്ദി അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അഭിവാദ്യങ്ങൾ അർപ്പിക്കുന്നു. ജയ് ആദിവാസി.
Jai Adivasi. She says happy to be part of this international webinar. And all speakers spoke very well. And due to health issues, she wants to finish now. And she wishes a happy International Indigenous Day, one and all. Thank you, Amini.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your views and highlighting the issues that the tribal face in Kerala. Third on the list, we have Mr. Bhukia Anil, hailing from Telangana, currently engaged in his PhD research in the Department of Social Work in Central University, Karnataka. The platform is yours, sir.
So, good evening to all.
Yes, Anil, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, namaste to all. I am from Telangana, so pursuing PhD. Thank you for inviting this workshop. So, thank you very much. So, I would like to explain about in Telangana state, tribals, how they are living and their practicing and their problems. So, sir, are you listening, sir? Everyone?
Yes, we can hear you, Anil.
Yes, Mr. Anil, we are all listening to you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, in Telangana state, we have 10 districts. 10 districts have the tribal population. So, I am going to explain Koya tribe and Kondareddy tribe and Chenchu tribe and Lambada tribe. So, why I am choosing these 4 tribes means Lambada and Koya tribes are more advanced. So, there are benefiting. The Kondareddy and Chenchu tribes are living in the forest area. Still, there are vulnerable and PVTG, particular vulnerable tribal groups. So, when you talk about Lambada tribes, so Lambada tribes, there are very colorful peoples and they have separate festivals, dance and religions. So Banjara peoples live in Tanda. Tanda means there is a village. So they have community leaders are there. So without outside interference, they will solve the problem community with the community leader. And the Lambada people will celebrate Teej. Teej is a festival they will celebrate very grandly, and also the different kinds of dance they will do, and with the women, men equally they will participate in the singing and dance. So religions. So when you talk about Lambada religions, they worship the Balaji. Balaji is the god, and also the Hanuman, and so this kind of god they will worship it to the Lambada tribes. But Lambada tribes are more population than other tribes. So there are well there are educated, they getting the more awareness what schemes are available. So but when you talk about that Kondareddy tribes are living in forest area, in hilly area. So they're located like a forest. So they depending on the primary agriculture. So there some when they were need, they come to the plain area to purchasing something. Again they go to that like hilly and forest area. So those life is different than their cultural, different than those who are in advanced tribe like Koya tribe and Lambada tribes. So in the Kondareddy, they friendly to the eco-friendly practices. So their houses look like a bamboo with they made their houses. They still they hunting and gathering. So whatever they gathering for honey, they sell to the outside. So they're culturally they're depending on forest. So the nature is their god. So they believe on like different kinds of god. So so they have strong bondage with the nature. So they will worship the trees and waters. So these are the Kondareddis. So when you talk about the Chenchu tribe also PVTG, they're also living in the hilly area. So that Chenchu tribe worship the Lord Bhagavan Taru, who lives in the sky, and they trust he always look after Chenchu tribe people. So they believe on the Lord Bhagavan. So Bhagavan always they look for their trust. So they're worshipful like this. And also the different kinds of gods they believe in the forest areas. So Chenchu tribe also worship Hindu gods like Lord Shiva and Hanuman, and so they also will be Hindu related, the god they will do. So Chenchu tribe and Kondareddy tribes are supernatural powers are there because they believe on that. So it's sometimes it's a harmful for them, but it is a belief to practice in there. So this kind of practice are doing. So when you're talking about that Telangana government what doing for the tribal cultural development, their values. So Telangana government there are recognized two festival of tribals. So one is the Medaram Jatra. You people are heard about that Medaram Jatra. Medaram Jatra is the second largest regional gathering in India after the Kumbh Mela. So it is Koya tribes. Koya tribe.
You belong to Koya tribe?
No, sir. I belongs to Lambada tribe, sir.
Okay. Carry on.
So Koya tribes are they do Sammaka Saraka Jatra, but governments are recognizing it is a Telangana festival. So it is a good for everyone. So everyone go to there, pray and do something ritual there. So another one is Nagoba Jatra. Nagoba Jatra also Telangana government is recognized by the Gond and Pradhan tribes are their festival Nagoba Jatra, but Telangana government recognized it, so any people can be that worship with that. So that is good thing from Telangana government. Another one thing is the Tribal Research Institute set up in Telangana state by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So they do research and documentation and ethical studies, community studies, and we have museum and cultural program and training. Even in the tribal research, they will conduct like a tribal painting, different kinds of. So these are the positive thing from the Telangana government. We seen the from past years. So and those who are paintings, those who do paintings like Koya tribe or like Chenchu tribes, those painting will sell like a 4,000 or 6,000, 5,000 or 10,000. So the painting value like that. So so when that is good thing. So when you talk about some problems in the cultural and of tribal, those who are living in Telangana, even though there is a problem is there, because of that culture of minor tribes in mostly neglected, because there are 32 tribals are living, but remaining tribals, those who are living in hilly area and forest area, very remote area, very less population, they are most neglected by the government. So, and also less recognition from government, like when you talk about non-documentation of cultural norm and practices and tribal culture are non-listed in the official list of government museum and tourism places. But I would like to say that some museums are have there some tribals, their dance and singing, their cultural activities, so their marriage, so everything is there. But some tribals are not listed in the museum and government listed. So if you add those tribal into in the museum also, it is recognized. That's why I'm telling. So non-documentation of some minor tribes. So that also. So another one is due to lack of education, because tribals are very illiterate. That's why development, there are extreme the superstition and belief. So what are the belief, the superstition and belief? It is a meaningless sometimes practices, which can be harmful and for them. So that is the due to lack of education and development. That also we have to look at in their cultural. Another thing is social, some social major issues like child marriages. So the some tribals are through their culturally, the yearly they marriage they do, infanticide, homicide, animal sacrifice. So those things are they still practicing. Exchange of views, black magic and other detrimental practices are still prevalent among them. So these are the cultural cultural disturbance to their social life. Still some of tribes are practicing. So one more thing is like a migration. Tribal culture and traditional folk knowledge are slowly down because of the when non-tribals are entering into tribal area, automatically disturbing their cultural. So that's a migration. Migration also one of the reason for the cultural issues. Even in the tribal also, in the plain area tribal also, people also will go to for work from the city because of as the lack of livelihood activities in that area. So these are things in Telangana. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. This is my presentation today.
Thank you so much, sir, for amazing insights that you gave for the tribal community in Telangana. And thank you. We appreciate that you have kept the time frame. And
Super.
next.
Yes, Kuriakos, yes, that is true. Anil, I think we will have doubt how to be with us. Maybe we may go to up to 8:15, 8:30. And last, we have some questions. Please don't leave us. Okay, continue, Kuriakos.
Thank you, sir.
Just one point with your permission, Anthony, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Anil, you need to learn little more about Chenjus as well as Banjara. Even though you bring your minister, Telangana tribal minister is Banjara community.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And by Banjara and Chenjus are mother tongue based community, and they worship that goddess Chenjama, Chenju Lakshmi.
Okay, very good.
Chenjama.
Okay,
sir. Okay, sir.
Very
Thank
good.
you, sir.
Yeah, we'll come at last, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, Kuriakos, continue.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Now let's move on to the next speaker we have. Next, I invite Sister Ruby Kuju, National Coordinator of Log Munch, Delhi, for sharing her perspective on the topic. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sister. Yes, sister, you are.
So, on behalf of Father Anthony Dias from SJES office and from all Lokmanch team at the national level and the partners at the field level, I wish you all happy World Indigenous Day to the distinguished guests, all the panelists, all the participants join in this program, the webinar, national webinar. Thanks to Father P.S. Anthony and organizing team of ADI and Lokmanch partners of ADI unit, Attapadi unit, and Social Workers Association for organizing the national webinar on culture, value, rights, and the issues of adivasis in India. And I'm happy and privileged to speak about the topic, especially on the issues of tribals and the adivasis. Being an adivasi being a tribal, I feel proud of the culture and tradition we Adivasis have. It is unique. We have unique way of worship, dance, marriage, celebration, food, clothing, and language, arts, and traditional medicines. So Father P.S. Antoni has asked me or requested me to speak on the issues carried on by the Lokmanch program, since I am working and associated with the Lokmanch program. So Father has requested me to speak on the issues carried on by this program, Lokmanch program. So before I go to the issues our Lokmanch partners are carrying on, I would like to tell about the Lokmanch. What is the Lokmanch? So it is a common platform of Dalit, Adivasis, minorities, urban poor, and other marginalized communities. And the activities from the program are implemented in 13 states in India, like Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and West Bengal, and Uttarakhand. And 92 organizations are facilitating the activities in the respected states at the local level. And Lokmanch is focusing on strengthening community leadership, and it is a platform at panchayat level, municipality level, block, district, state, and at national level at large for the long-term sustainability of accessing their entitlements, and it also empowers the community and its leadership for their rights. And Lokmanch is accompanying them to get their rights. And it could be one of the first collaborative and networking efforts of Jesuits in India to come together for a common cause. And this program is not directly involved to get the rights of or for the tribals, but by strengthening the community members, the community leadership, so they come together and demand for their rights. And I would like to focus on the intervention carried by the Lokmanch in these states regarding the tribal issues. In Kerala, first of I begin from Kerala states. The issues of tribals in Kerala are landlessness, land grab by capitalists of various types, land acquisition for development projects such as hydroelectric projects, loss of socio-cultural identity, loss of indigenous medicines, agriculture and food habits, exclusion from higher education and non-formal education opportunities, lack of basic necessities like food, shelter, and clothing, inadequate safe drinking water and sanitation facilities, lack of accessibilities from PSCs and CSCs. And Lokmanch has been supporting the land rights movement of the tribals indirectly, like organizations such as Studi and Adi promoted their culture forms of art. Since I have been that organization and I have seen the way they do the work for the tribals. And Adi organization has promoted folk medicines through a tribal doctor. And I had the opportunity to get some medicines from that tribal doctor. And in Wayanad, Oru, Tudu, Jwala, and Bodhani organizations have campaigned for more seats for tribal children in the higher education sector. Next, I go to Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, Lokmanch covering the most vulnerable group called Irulas, the second majority population in Tamil Nadu, tribal population after Todas. And tribals are facing the issues of land rights. Many of them are staying in huts or semi-shelter houses. Often they are excluded, neglected, and denied from the state and central government freeing house scheme project due to availability of housing land patta. Tribals came together, submitted the memorandum, and after long struggle, able to get housing land rights to few families. Other issues are denial by the dominant caste to enjoy common property resources in the village, poor access to electricity and safe drinking water, and FRA issues in hill areas. They identified, communities identified over 932 tribal families are homeless, and they applied together for housing patta for 769 tribal families, and among them, they got 450 families received housing patta. So this is the intervention Lokmanch is doing for the tribals in Tamil Nadu. In Karnataka, especially in Mungod area of Karnataka, our Lokmanch partners are working on land rights of tribals under Forest Right Act, education of children, access to health facilities from PSCs, and women empowerment through SHG group. In Maharashtra, Lokmanch partners are working on education, land laborers, and the issue of migration. Lots of tribals from Maharashtra are migrated to the cities as migrant laborers. The intervention of Lokmanch is to connect them with Manrega scheme and the follow-up so that they are paid well, like full wages and on time. And in Shirpur, the partner organization giving the skill trainings on driving, welding, and AC repair. So they are creating the livelihood opportunities. In Gujarat, few tribal groups are there in Gujarat. They are losing the identity. They are facing the problem of displacement and not getting the compensation. Lokmanch partners are helping them to get the compensation, and they are helping them to mainstreaming them and connecting them with the schemes. In Chhattisgarh, Lokmanch partners are working on community forest right and the rights to access to the resources from the forest. Through the collective intervention with like-minded networking partners, 21 villages of the intervention area have received the community forest right, and 6 villages have received the rights to access to the resources from the forest. Also, helping tribals to access to the entitlements. In Odisha, our partners are working on Kandhamal district on the tribal issues of education of children, forest right and livelihood opportunities, trying to connect tribals from Manrega scheme and promoting horticulture and animal husbandry program. Through this program, the tribals are receiving like 1 lakh annual income. In the West Bengal, most of the tribals have gone from Jharkhand or Chhattisgarh. They are migrated to the West Bengal and working on tea garden. There are 400 tea gardeners working, like 400 tea gardens are registered, and 75% tribals are working on those tea gardens from many years, but still they have not got the land rights and the basic social and economic benefits. Through Lokmanch intervention in collaboration with like-minded networking partners, after long struggle, they could demand the increment of wages from rupees 132 to 202 rupees per day. Few tribals have land and tea garden, but that also is grabbed by non-tribals, and those tribals are supported to file the cases, and few cases are resolved and some cases are still in process. So I'll not repeat about the Jharkhand. Already Father Ranjit Indo has spoken the issues of Jharkhand. So in this way, a number of grassroots interventions are carried on to deal with the issues of tribals. New issues are emerging as well. Keep learning to deal with the existing issues. And ongoing critical education for resilient and sustainable communities is a goal for all of us to work and with, for and with the tribals. Our whole earth depends on the protection and sustainability of our indigenous peoples, habitats, and culture all over the world. So with this word, I end here my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for highlighting the issues carried on by the Lok Manch. It was very insightful. Now, I welcome Ms. Adira Narayan, Supervisor, ICDS, Trivandrum, and PhD Research Scholar, for presenting your views on the topic. Over to you, ma'am.
If it is possible, somebody can help me in to share my screen. How could I share my screen?
You can kindly, Adira, you share screen. You just go to share screen.
Okay, Father, I had.
Yeah. Then that in that you have laptop, no? Yeah. There you go to the share again. In the corner, there will be share and blue.
Oh, yeah. Whether I have to select anything here?
No, yeah. You have to touch your that Power PPT. Then you go to share. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you are sharing now.
Hope you all are
Yes.
visible.
Right. Now you can slide from beginning.
We are seeing it.
From
we are seeing it. We are seeing
from beginning. You can put from beginning.
Am I audible?
Yes, dear. Yes, Adira.
Yes, we are.
Super. Yes.
Okay. First of all, I am happy Indigenous Day to all. So myself, I am Adira Narayanan.
You actually you stop your video, but you can share.
Father Lenin had given me a wonderful.
Yeah, carry on, Adria. Carry on.
I have a poor internet connection. If I am breaking in.
Adria?
Am I audible?
Yes, but your voice is breaking.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, my internet connection is so poor. So please give me instructions, Father, please.
Carry on. You carry on.
Whenever I am breaking, please give me instructions.
Now it's okay. Please carry on. Continue.
Okay, myself, I am I will finish so fast. No interruption is made. Okay, I am now working as ICD Women and Child Development Department, Government of Kerala. I was a full-time research scholar at Loyola College of Social Sciences, researching on my own tribal community, Kanika. So regarding tribals in Kerala, tribals in Kerala are the indigenous population found in the southern Indian state of Kerala. Most of the tribal people of Kerala live in the forests and mountains of Western Ghats, bordering Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Is this which I am have? Hello.
Yeah, carry on.
Am I audible?
Yes, continue.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Adira. Please continue. Adira, കേൾക്കുന്നില്ല?
Is this visible to all?
Yes. I think gone. Adira? Kyriakos, we can, I think now we can ask Kalisami to speak, then we can give chance to Adira the next.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So due to network issues, we'll be moving on to our next speaker. So we have yet another great personality, Mr. Kalisami, yes, the Health Inspector of Attapadi, Kerala. With great respect, I invite you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Kalisami, ഈ നെറ്റ്വർക്ക് ഇഷ്യൂ ഇല്ലല്ലോ?
ഇല്ല പ്രശ്നം.
ഓക്കെ, മോൻ കാണിക്കാൻ സന്തോഷം.
ഓക്കെ തീർച്ചയായിട്ടും അച്ഛാ. കാണാലോ. എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം സർ. എൻ്റെ പേര് കാളുസ്വാമിയാണ്. അട്ടപ്പാടിയിലെ 3 ഗോത്ര വിഭാഗങ്ങളായ ഇരുള, മുടുക, കുറുമ്പ വിഭാഗങ്ങളിലെ ഗോത്ര സമുദായ ഇരുള സമുദായപ്പെട്ട ആളാണ് ഞാൻ സർ.
ഞാൻ ട്രാൻസ്ലേറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം.
Okay.
We have 3 tribal community, namely Irula, Muduga, Kurumba. I am proud to say that I belong to Irula tribal community.
Yes. First of all, അട്ടപ്പാടി ഞാനിപ്പോ അട്ടപ്പാടി ബേസിൽ ആയിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാനാണ് ഈ വേദി പ്രയോജനപ്പെടുത്തുന്നത്. അതിൽ അട്ടപ്പാടി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആദ്യകാലത്ത് അണ്ടേപ്പാടി എന്നാണ് അത് അറിയപ്പെട്ടിരുന്നത്. അണ്ടേപ്പാടി മീൻസ് ട്രൈബൽ ലാംഗ്വേജിൽ അണ്ടേപ്പാടി എന്ന വാക്കിന്റെ അർത്ഥം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പാടി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു നമ്മൾ വിളവെടുത്ത ശേഷം നമ്മൾ അളക്കുന്ന പാത്രമാണ് പാടി എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ആ പാടി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ പാരമ്പര്യമായ കൃഷി, ആദിവാസികളുടെ പാരമ്പര്യമായ തനത് കൃഷികൾ വിളവെടുത്ത് അത് സമ്പന്നത്തോടുള്ള ഒരു സമൂഹമാണ് അട്ടപ്പാടി എന്ന് പറയുന്നതാണ് പണ്ട് കാലത്ത് അണ്ടേപ്പാടി എന്നറിയപ്പെട്ടത്. പിൽക്കാലത്ത് അത് നമ്മൾ കാലകർമ്മണത്തോടെ അട്ടപ്പാടി എന്ന വാക്കിലേക്ക് മാറ്റപ്പെട്ടിരിക്കുക.
Okay, Attapadi was giving the meaning of Attapadi. Attapadi means Andepadi. Padi means it is a measuring vessel like, and traditionally the tribals were rich and prosperous, and they used this one padi for measuring their products or agricultural products. So it was a nice name, which is called Attapadi. Many tribals or others in Attapadi do not know the meaning of this word. So he explains the meaning. It is the only tribal taluk in Kerala. So we should know that one. Yeah, continue, Kalisami.
Yes, thank you, Father. The tribes, mostly 3 tribes in living in Attapadi. That's Irula, Muduga, Kurumba, and we are 192 hamlets in Attapadi. That is 149 hamlets living Irula community, and 24 hamlets living Muduga and other PVTG group. Most of the Kerala, totally Kerala, 6, particularly 1 of the tribes are living there. That's one of the Kurumba tribes is living in Attapadi. Okay. That is 90 hamlets are the PVTG group as Kurumbas living in Attapadi. And mostly the tribal peoples, പണ്ടുകാലം മുതൽ തന്നെ ആദിവാസികൾ ട്രൈബ്സ് 3 കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് മാത്രമേ പുറം ലോകമായിട്ട് സമ്പർക്കം പുലർത്തിയിരുന്നുള്ളൂ. ദാറ്റ്സ് വൺ, ഡ്രസ്. ആദ്യം തുണി മാത്രം, അവർ ഡ്രസ്സ് മേടിക്കാനും, പിന്നെ എണ്ണ, മൂന്നാമത് ഉപ്പ്. ഈ 3 കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് മാത്രമാണ് ആദിവാസി ജനത അട്ടപ്പാടി ബേസായിട്ട് ആദിവാസി ജനത പുറമായിട്ട് ആവശ്യമായിട്ട് നടന്നിട്ടുള്ളൂ. ബാക്കിയെല്ലാം അവർ തനത് കൃഷിയിൽ തന്നെ വിളവെടുത്ത് ഭക്ഷിച്ച് വന്നിരുന്നതാണ്.
Okay, what you was telling is about 3 tribes, Irula, Muduga, Kurumba, and 149 live in Irula hamlets, and others 24 Muduga, and so on. 192 hamlets altogether we have in Attapadi, and only over 3 things the tribals from Attapadi depended on outsiders. Mainly for one is for dress and oil and salt. All other things were available for them. That is what he says. Okay, continue.
Thank you. നമ്മുടെ ഇങ്ങനെ സമ്പുഷ്ടമായി ഈ 3 ആവശ്യങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് മാത്രം പുറംലോകം ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്ത ആദിവാസി സമൂഹം പിന്നീട് അവരുടെ നിരക്ഷരതയും കുടിയേറ്റ സമുദായത്തിന്റെ ഇടപെടൽ കാരണം അവരുടെ ഭൂമിയും മറ്റു കാര്യങ്ങളെല്ലാം അന്യദിനപ്പെട്ടുപോയി. അതിൽ നിന്നൂടെയാണ് നമ്മുടെ ട്രൈബലിന്റെ ഇഷ്യൂസ് നമ്മളിലേക്ക് പുറം ലോകത്തേക്ക് കൂടുതലായിട്ട് വരുന്നത്.
Okay, so land alienation is a major issue in Kerala and in also in Attapadi. Once the immigration started and the outsiders came to Attapadi, people started losing their land and various issues started. Yeah.
ഓക്കെ, നിലവിൽ നമുക്ക് അട്ടപ്പാടി സംബന്ധിച്ച് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ആരോഗ്യപരമായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ നിലവിൽ നമുക്ക് അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ 28 സബ് സെന്റേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. ഏകദേശം 192 ഹാംലെറ്റ് അതിൻ്റെ തന്നെ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അതിൽ ഒരു 7 ഹാംലെറ്റ് ബേസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ട് ഓരോ സബ് സെന്ററുകൾ പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അതിന്റെ മേളിലാണ് പ്രൈമറി ഹെൽത്ത് സെന്റർ. അതിന്റെ റഫറൽ അതോറിറ്റി ആയിട്ട് പ്രൈമറി ഹെൽത്ത് സെന്റേഴ്സ് വർക്കിംഗ് ആണ്. അതിന് മേളിൽ കമ്മ്യൂണിറ്റി ഹെൽത്ത് സെന്റർ ഉണ്ട്, അത് അകലിലാണ് ഉള്ളത്. നിലവിൽ 28 സബ് സെന്ററും 3 PHSC 1 CHSC ആണ് ഉള്ളത്. പ്ലസ് അതിന്റെ റഫറൽ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലായിട്ട് ഗവൺമെന്റ് ട്രൈബൽ സ്പെഷ്യാലിറ്റി ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ കൂടി ഉണ്ട്.
Okay. So he was giving the data of about health facility available in our Attapadi. There are 28 sub-centers for each 7 hamlets, 1 each they have out of for 193 hamlets. And primary health centers, there are primary health center?
മൂന്ന്
primary health center and family health center. അത് എത്ര ഒന്നാണോ?
പ്രൈവറ്റ് ഹെൽത്ത് സെന്റർ കൺവേർട്ടഡ് ഫാമിലി ഹെൽത്ത് സെന്റർ ആക്കി മാറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ട് പുതിയ സർക്കാരിന്റെ.
And we have one tribal specialty center also, hospital. We have huge hospital.
ഓക്കെ, നിലവിൽ നമ്മുടെ ആദ്യം തന്നെ പറഞ്ഞു പാരമ്പര്യമായ കൃഷി രീതികൾ നമ്മിൽ നിന്നും നഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടതിനെ തുടർന്ന് ആരോഗ്യ ജനത ഒരുപാട് ഈ കഴിഞ്ഞ 10 വർഷക്കാലത്തോട് 1000-ഓളം കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളാണ് ഇൻഫന്റ് ഡെത്തും മറ്റു IUD, അബോർഷൻ, മറ്റു കേസുകളായിട്ട് 1000-ഓളം കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളാണ് നമ്മുടെ സമൂഹത്തിൽ നിന്നും വംശഹത്യയിലേക്ക് മാറ്റപ്പെട്ടത്. അതിന്റെ ഒരു മേജർ ഇഷ്യൂ ഈ കഴിഞ്ഞ 2011 മുതൽ ഈ 2021 വരെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങൾ മരണപ്പെട്ടു. അതിലെ പ്രധാന ഘടകം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഇത്രയും വെറും ഡ്രഗ്സും ഓയിൽ, ഉപ്പ്, ഈ 3 കാര്യങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി ഡിപ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു ആദിവാസി സമൂഹം പിൽക്കാലത്ത് അവരുടെ നിരാക്ഷരതയും മുതലാക്കി മറ്റുള്ളവരുടെ കുടിയേറ്റവും ഭൂമി അന്യാധീനപ്പെടലും മരം വെട്ടുമ്പോലുള്ള മരം വെട്ടുപോലുള്ള മാഫിയകളുടെ വന്ന് ഏക്കറി കാരണം ഇവരുടെ ഭൂമിയെല്ലാം കൈയേറ്റം ചെയ്യപ്പെട്ടു. അവരുടെ പാരമ്പര്യ കൃഷി അവരിൽ നിന്ന് അന്യമാകപ്പെട്ടു. അതിലൂടെ ഇവരുടെ പോഷക മൂല്യമുള്ള ഭക്ഷണങ്ങൾ കഴിക്കാൻ പറ്റാതെ ഇവർ തനത് കൃഷിയും ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാതെ സ്വന്തം ഭൂമി ഇല്ലാതെ കൃഷി ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ലല്ലോ. അത്തരത്തിൽ അവര് അന്യദിനപ്പെട്ടതിലൂടെ പോഷകാഹാരക്കുറവ് ഇവരെ വേട്ടയാടി. അതിലൂടെയാണ് ഇത്രയും കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങളും 2010 മുതൽ ഇവിടെ മരണപ്പെട്ട് വന്നത്. അതിന്റെ ബേസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ടാണ് നമ്മുടെ 2011 കാലഘട്ടത്തിൽ അട്ടപ്പാടിയിലെ ഈ ഗവൺമെന്റ് സ്പെഷ്യാലിറ്റി ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ സ്ട്രെങ്തൻ ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ആദിവാസികൾ ഒറ്റക്കെട്ടായി സമരം ചെയ്യുകയും ആ സ്പെഷ്യാലിറ്റി മറ്റു ഏത് ഗർഭിണി കേസുകളും എല്ലാത്തിനും അവർക്ക് വേണ്ട ട്രീറ്റ്മെന്റ് അവിടെ സ്ഥലത്ത് വെച്ച് കൊടുക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ പ്രൈവറ്റ് സ്പെഷ്യാലിറ്റി ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽ തുടങ്ങിയത്, സ്ട്രെങ്തൻ ചെയ്തത്. 2007 ഓപ്പൺ ചെയ്താലും അത് പിന്നീട് സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ആയിട്ട് 2012 ശേഷമാണ് കൂടുതൽ 9 സ്പെഷ്യാലിറ്റി കെയർ ഫെസിലിറ്റി ആശുപത്രിയിൽ കൊണ്ടുവന്നത്.
So due to the exploitation or and other mafias, people started losing their traditional food, agriculture, etc. So they started even the health issue started from 2011 onwards. Many child death also reported, and even altogether 1000 infant death altogether it was reported. So what he was telling is now after 2011 this hospital was strengthened, especially the tribal specialty hospital, and given priority for all tribal people here. And whatever it may be, their traditional food, millet, etc., everything they lost. That is the main point he was telling. Yeah.
പിന്നീട് നമ്മുടെ ഈ 2011-12 കാലഘട്ടത്തിൽ തന്നെ കുട്ടികളുടെ പോഷകാഹാരക്കുറവ് ഒരുപാട് വേട്ടയാണ്. അതിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ടാണ് നമ്മുടെ സംസ്ഥാന ഗവൺമെന്റ് NRC ന്യൂട്രീഷൻ റീഹാബിലിറ്റേഷൻ സെന്റർ കൊണ്ടുവന്നു. അതിലൂടെ കുട്ടികളുടെ സ്ക്രീനിങ്ങും അവരുടെ പോഷകാഹാരക്കുറവ് കുറയ്ക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് അവർ സ്ക്രീൻ ചെയ്ത കുട്ടികളെ 3 കാറ്റഗറി ചെയ്തു. SAM, MAM, നോർമൽ. SAM മീൻസ് സിവിയർ അക്യൂട്ട് മാൽന്യൂട്രീഷനും MAM എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മോഡറേറ്റ് അക്യൂട്ട് മാൽന്യൂട്രീഷൻ. SAM ബേബീസിനെ ഈ NRCകളിൽ അട്ടപ്പാടി 3 NRCയിലാണ് 3 പഞ്ചായത്ത് കേന്ദ്രീകരിച്ചാണ് ഇത് സ്ഥിതി ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഷോളയൂർ, പുതൂർ, അനാഗലി. അപ്പോൾ ഈ 3 NRCയിലും SAM കുട്ടികളെ അഡ്മിറ്റ് ആക്കുകയും നൂതന ഫുഡ് F75 ഫുഡ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറയും അതിന്റെ കലോറികൾ അടങ്ങിയ ഫുഡ്, ന്യൂട്രീഷൻ ഫുഡ് കൊടുത്ത് അവരെ നോർമൽ വെയിറ്റിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുവരിക എന്ന ഉദ്ദേശ ലക്ഷ്യത്തോടുകൂടി ഈ NRC സൗകര്യം അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇത് കേരളത്തിൽ അട്ടപ്പാടിയിൽ മാത്രമേ ഇത് കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ടുള്ളൂ. അത് റിലേറ്റഡ് വിത്ത് ഇൻഫന്റ് ഡെത്ത് ഡ്യൂട്ടി.
Okay. So due to malnutritious death, the hospital Attapadi 3 Panchayat we have Agli Pudur Cholayur and NRC Nutrition Rehabilitation Center started all 3 panchayats and these have been added to that. Only in Attapadi this nutritious element is given especially. Yeah.
അച്ചോ പിന്നെ നമ്മുടെ ആദിവാസി ദിനം ടുഡേ ഇന്ന് അത് നമ്മൾ ഇന്നത്തെ വിഷയത്തിലേക്ക് കടക്കാണ്. അട്ടപ്പാടി ബേസ്ഡ് ആയിട്ട് ജനറൽ ആയിട്ട് എല്ലാം പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്. എന്നാലും നമ്മുടെ കോഹി അച്ഛൻ അനുവദിച്ച സമയം തയ്യാറായതുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മൾ ഇന്നത്തെ ദിവസം ലോക ആദിവാസി ദിന ആശംസകൾ എല്ലാവരും ഒന്നുകൂടി ഞാൻ ഓർമ്മിപ്പിക്കാൻ എല്ലാവർക്കും ആശംസ നേരെയാണ്. പിന്നീട് നമ്മുടെ ഈ സമൂഹം ഈ കോവിഡ് കാലഘട്ടം തുടങ്ങുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് മുതൽ 2019 മുമ്പ് വരെ ഞാൻ ഉൾപ്പെടെ അട്ടപ്പാടിയുള്ള കുറച്ച് അതിനല്ല മറ്റു ആക്ടിവിസ്റ്റുകൾ ഈ ട്രൈബൽ ഡേ സെലിബ്രേഷൻ ചെയ്യുന്ന മറ്റ് അതർ സ്റ്റേറ്റുകൾ ലൈക്ക് പൊള്ളാച്ചി അങ്ങനെയുള്ള അതർ സ്റ്റേറ്റുകളൊക്കെ പോയിട്ടാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ ഫെസ്റ്റിവൽ സെലിബ്രേഷൻ ചെയ്തത് ആദിവാസി ദിനം മറ്റു ആൾക്കാരായിട്ട് സംസാരിച്ച്. പക്ഷെ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ സന്തോഷം തോന്നുന്നത് ഈ വർഷത്തിലാണ്. കാരണം എന്താ വെച്ചാൽ ഈ വർഷം ഇന്ന് അട്ടപ്പാടി സംബന്ധിച്ച് ഏകദേശം 192 ഊരുകളിലും ഊരുമൂപ്പന്റെ അവരുടെ സംസ്കാരവും ഗോത്ര ആചാരപ്രകാരം ഊരുതലത്തിൽ ഒരു ഊരെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഊരുമൂപ്പൻ, കുറുതല, വണ്ടാരി, മണ്ണക്കാരൻ, ഗുരുവൻ ഈ 5 പേരാണ് ഊരിന്റെ പ്രധാന ഭരണാധികാരികൾ. അവരുടെ നേതൃത്വത്തിൽ ഇന്ന് ആദിവാസി ദിനം വിളക്ക് കത്തിച്ച് അവരുടെ ദിനത്തിനെ അവർ ആചരിച്ചു. ഏറ്റവും വലിയ സന്തോഷം തോന്നുന്ന ഒരു ദിവസമാണ് ഇന്ന്.
Yeah. So he wants to wish first of all International Indigenous Day. Before 2019, he used to go to other parts of Tamil Nadu or other places to celebrate this festival. This year, even the Corona protocol was there, but all 193 hamlets people today they celebrated this day, and especially in their hamlets, we have governing system we called Moopan, Vandari, Mannakaran, and others. They burned the lamb and they celebrated today together. So he's very happy about that.
Okay, finally, നമ്മുടെ ആദിവാസികളുടെ പ്രശ്നം എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് കാലഹരണപ്പെട്ട് പുതിയ ആയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ സംയോജിക്കേണ്ടതുണ്ട്. അതിന്റെ ഭാഗമായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ആരോഗ്യം, തൊഴിൽ, വരുമാനം, അടിസ്ഥാന സൗകര്യ വികസനം തുടങ്ങിയ എല്ലാ മേഖലകളിലും നമ്മുടെ ആദിവാസികൾ നമ്മുടെ ജനങ്ങൾ ആ ഡിപ്പാർട്ട്മെന്റിലെ അഡ്മിനിസ്ട്രേഷൻ ലെവലിൽ വന്ന് പരിഹരിച്ചാൽ മാത്രമേ ഇത് പരിഹരിക്കാൻ പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ. അതില്ലാത്തോളം ഇത് ആദിവാസികളുടെ പ്രശ്നം ഇത് കഴിയാൻ പോകുന്നില്ല. നമ്മുടെ നിരാശത അവര് മുതലാക്കുക തന്നെ ചെയ്യും. എല്ലാ മേഖലകളിലും ഈ ഒരു വിത്ത്, ആദിവാസികളുടെ ഒരു വിത്ത് അവിടെ വിതയ്ക്കണം എന്നതാണ് എന്റെ ലക്ഷ്യം, എന്റെ ആവശ്യം. Thank you, sir.
His dream is that tribals, of course, the health sector, education, employment sector, these tribals are facing so many problems. Unless tribals come to the administrative level or into power, we may not be save our people. So education is the only solution. Our people should get good education, higher education. They should come to the administration level, and we should solve all problems. And for that is his Kalisami's dream. He is a tribal. He is a health inspector, very hardworking, very gentleman. And he says with these words he wanted to stop. So thank you, Kalisami, for your wonderful words and for enlightening us.
Thank you, Vacha, for the best opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for the enlightening words, for highlighting the history, culture, and issues of Attapadi. It was very interesting. Now, it's my honor to welcome Dr. Krishnan K., who is the Executive Director of Foundation for Sustainable Development and orator of the Constitution of Rights. He is also a respected trainer and advisor on issues related to tribal rights and Secretary of National Adivasi Solidarity Council. We invite you, sir, to deliver the final presentation of the panel.
Thank you very much for the organizers, and it's very good for me to listen everyone that who are talking about Adivasi rights and also sharing about the experience of different parts of the country. It's a wonderful program. I appreciate Father Lenin Anthony and his team, involving across the country people for this national seminar. Can I do share screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, I'm very happy, especially today is the World Indigenous Day. You are creating 1 million awareness. Also, you are also presenting the issues of the tribal people. Also, in the previous speaker I was listening, they're also giving a recommendations for the government of India to see how possibility that tribal rights can be protected. Let me go to the. See, when I'm seeing adivasis, I don't see problems. Rather, I see the sustainable lifestyle of the adivasis. Adivasi people have been an alternative worldview, which has rarely been acknowledged or recognized by the outsiders. Non-tribals or anybody in the world, Adivasi culture different perspective. That's what nobody recognized. Their existence was never based on accumulation consumerism. To understand their culture, they have a symbiotic relationship with nature as their mother and close linkages with the environment. They took what they needed from nature, but never in excess. They never accumulated or stored their life in input with freedom. See, if you see the today ministers or anybody in this world, they always try to store things for at least 5 to 10 generations, whereas Adivasis look always another 100 generation. People should live happily with the environment. That is their culture. And the life is imported with freedom. Always they're happy. Whatever they have, they're happy. Let me say, let me take you some little bit background about Adivasis. During King's period, what has happened? Actually, before King's period, Adivasis people on the rivers, on the basins of rivers, the natural resources are there, they should live. But during King's period, what has happened? Forest areas are used as houses for the rebellions. Adivasi people used to accommodate them with protection and counseling over his rebellions like that. During Mughals period, what has happened? Forest areas are used as fighters for guerrilla strategy. Example, there are so many, in Tipu Sultan period also I can give you example. In even Kerala, Palsiraja period, and if you go to Pallavaraj, and if you go to Telangana, if you go to Odisha, always there are so many examples of that. But one example very popular, that is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj and his relationship with the Banjara tribes. See, the Lambadas, Lambadas are not Telangana people or Karnataka people or Kerala people. They are origin of Maharashtra region. Evicted from this region because of Aurangzeb, because these people have supported to Chhatrapati Shivaji. That's the history of displacement started. Then during this period, what has happened? Forest resources are stolen by the Britishers for building railroads, ships, and for trade and for trade. It was questioned by Adivasis. Then the forest department was introduced, and tribal revolt continued. Then criminal tribal acts introduced. Then tribal started rebellion movement against British encroachment. Then neglected area act introduced, and later land acquisition act, and even after that, even after independence, wildlife protection act without any alternative which was passed. We call all these are red laws against tribals. Then people may wonder whether it's a red laws. Yes. Example, when the Forest Rights Act was passed in 2006, the Prime Minister of India said on 26th that the law came on 29. He said in the Parliament, done historically injustice to the Adivasis of this country, and so we want to undo the historical injustice. The word you see, they have done historical injustice, which was accepted. This was accepted in European countries, Latin America, and Australia, and even in India during this time. That means people have done injustice to the tribals. When it comes to, see, Adivasi life, they have a 6 type of way of living. That is a culture. Life with liberty, life with biodiversity, life with sustainability, life with dignity, life with identity, and life with equality. This is the original culture. But what has happened? In 1864, in 1871, Criminal Tribals Act introduced. In 1874, Neglected Area Act introduced. In 1894, Land Acquisition Act introduced. 1927, Indian Forest Act introduced. 1935, Excluded and Partially Excluded Area introduced. And 1972, Indian Wildlife Act introduced. These things are evicted tribals from liberty, biodiversity, sustainability, dignity, identity, and equality. One example, the 1935 excluded and partially excluded area, that is the act where tribals are totally excluded from all development. Because of that, only 5th schedule and 6th schedule has come. When it comes to rights of Adivasis, what is given in the Constitution, Article 14 to 35, everyone knows that is fundamental rights given to tribal people. Then Article 46, promotion of education and economic interests of scheduled tribes. Article 244(1) talks about 5th schedule, which is a special fund and power to tribal people. Article 244(2) talks about 6th schedule. Article 275, allocation of funds for STs, example, tribal subplan and ITDA. Article 342, that gives power to the President of India to declare all Adivasis in this country based on recommendations of the President of India. Then Article 338A ensures development of the National Commission for Scheduled Tribes. And come to characters of Adivasis. These are the 5 parameters based on which who can be Adivasis. Who are Adivasis? Adivasis are declared based on 5 parameters. One is who are adapting distinct culture, arts, and music. One is living in isolation area and their habitation, depending on natural resources with the primitive tribes, living conditions of very backwardness and poor, shyness to contact with the others. Adivasi communities in India, see, we have more than 10.5 crore STs in India. Among 705 communities, and among that 75 tribal communities are declared as a particularly vulnerable tribal groups, and they have a history of more than 65,000 years in this country. Tribals are classified into 3 categories: hill tribes, plains, and semi-nomadics. Adivasis are named in 1931 as they are called primitive tribes. First time census report was taken by British in 1931. They called all the Adivasis as primitive tribes. Again in 1941 they called Adivasis as Indian tribes, and in 1951 they coined scheduled tribes. That's the first time all the tribals are listed as scheduled. Adivasi rights are first highlighted broadly by the ILO in 1989 through its convention number 169, which was the major binding international convention concerning indigenous peoples on government, which increased the government accountability. And UNO passed resolution on 23rd December 1994 and declared August 9th as World Adivasi Day. Today we are celebrating Adivasi Day because of the 23rd December 1994 resolution by UNO. Also, the UNO General Assembly declared 10 years from 1995 to 2004 as the International Decade of World Indigenous People. This 10 years is important. From that time onwards, everyone all around the world, including India, started thinking about tribal rights. Because of this 10-year decade only, we got PESA Act, we got FRA Act, we got amendment to SASC Act. Coming to
Sir, I think you are muted. Krishna sir, we don't hear you. Kindly unmute, sir. Krishna sir, we don't hear you.
Yeah, are you hearing me now? Yes.
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
See, this all the medicinal system, naturopathy, homeopathy, siddha, ayurveda, all this except allopathy, all these medicinal roots are from indigenous people and their knowledge. And if you talk about Adivasi identity, traditional medicinal knowledge, they are identity. One is the traditional medicinal knowledge, which is unique. Indigenous people's healing system, which is different. Cultivation with community farming, that is the other thing. Herbal treatment by using medicinal plants. Collection of minor forest products. Tribal dairy and animal husbandry. Cultivation of millets and vegetables. And sustainable resource management. And conservation of biodiversity and concept of gender equality. The conservation of biodiversity today, everybody talking about global warming and climate change. But people should come and learn from adivasis how they have conserved this environment ecology for generations. Similarly, men and women are equal in most of the tribes, especially the 75 indigenous communities who are matriarchy value, not patriarchy value. They don't treat men and women as inequally, they treat everybody as equal. That is the culture, and due to time, I'm not giving more examples. Come to about language about tribal communities. Tribals who live in forest areas and remote villages have their own culture, customs, religion, and own language. In the world, around 7,000 living languages are there in the world. Among them, 6,500 languages belongs to indigenous communities. Only 500 languages which has been developed last 500 years has been dominating all other languages. And tribals are unique people who have been developed these languages for generation. And experience of generations preserved in indigenous language. Languages serves as the medium of transmitting culture, values from one generation to another. There are about over 374 tribal languages currently available, which immensely contribute to the linguistic diversity of the indigenous people of India. Around 16 languages are rising in every year, and last 50 years, a lot of languages are gone out. Adivasis and their states, you see, since many people are given already. This is the, when you come to Tamil Nadu, you can see there are many, around 36 groups are there. Andhra again, 36, then Telangana like Andaman like that, and Odisha, we have major tribal population, more than 60 groups, and Jharkhand we have tribal people, Bihar we have tribal people, Northeast if you go to all the 7 states we have tribal people, and if you go to West Bengal, Bhutia tribal group, and if you go to Chhattisgarh you can see a lot of tribal people, and if you go to Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and if you go to Kerala again, people talk about Kerala also. And Karnataka, we have again many tribal people, and Madhya Pradesh tribal people, Gujarat we have tribal people, Rajasthan we have tribal people, and Maharashtra we have tribal people, and Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh also we have tribal people. All communities there only can identify rich resources, rich natural resources. This shows that tribal people are linked with the natural resources, tribal people are linked with the environment. When you come to, we have did one study about in 2019, we covered 317 villages about the level of socio-economic conditions of the scheduled tribes. We came to know we have divided hill tribes, foothill tribes, plain tribes, and semi-nomadic. This is the category that we did. The literacy level compared to general population, our tribal people are 42% in hill tribes. When it comes to other, it goes like that. Semi-nomadic only less than 20%. Poverty is still 78% of the people are living in poverty. Infrastructure, only 30% infrastructure, that talks about road, transport, health, like that. And health and sanitation, only 35% of the people are affordable. And the level of awareness about legal rights, especially tribals are having some laws which is supporting to their development. But only 12% knows what is about the laws. And when it comes to, this is one example I would like to, on 14th night, Jawaharlal Nehru, when they started hosting the first Indian national flag, the service of India means the service of millions who suffer. It means ending poverty and ignorance and disease and the inequality of opportunity. So long as there are tears and suffering, so long our work will not be. But this is what said about more than 70 years before. What is happening in the reality? See, tribal people are facing several violence, but among the 6 major issues that facing, one is everyday violence on tribals. Violence by not only non-tribals, but also state itself is creating violence. And displacement, 51% of the tribals are displaced from their traditional life, traditional livelihood, traditional habitation. Discrimination is happening everywhere. You can see tribals are discriminated not only within the village, but also in the jobs, in the reservation, and in the post, and also they have been forced to migrate. And then deforestation and exploitation. In India, 94% are rescued bonded laborers. Among the all the development programs, tribals are excluded. This is the status. What they promise, but the reality you have to see. Then come to what is the solution? See, the current emerging issues are major challenges for establishing social justice and cultural rights of Adivasi communities in India because of the present digital world, which is discriminating. In adding to the digital discrimination, modernization, slavery system, COVID also again is another issue that is pressuring tribals to be marginalized. What we need is a participatory action plan with inclusive approach to overcome obstacles and challenges for the system development of Adivasi communities and their future generations. In fact, we have wonderful laws in our country and extremely best government system that is related to our constitution. But the problem is related to the issue, active functions of the systems, attitude and approach, commitment of the officials, participation of citizens, implementation with the responsibility and functions of the government system. The system is failure in tribal areas. That's what it shows. Even though we have some laws. See, during the independence, people, they promised to our Adivasi leaders that once they come back to the power, they will give all the rights back to the tribals. But this is the 7 key things that they achieved last more than 72 years. One is, at least after several years, you may know the history that Jawaharlal Nehru has introduced a policy that in that he has promised that tribal rights and identity should be preserved, as well as autonomy of the tribal people should be provided by giving a huge amount of money as power. Done. But at least in 1974, when Indira Gandhi was there, that means the government should give them 10% of the fund for tribal development. That is has come through 1974. Then in 1970, a lot of people are living displaced. Finally, they are working as a bonded laborer. So 1976, Bonded Labor System Abolition Act introduced. And a lot of people are atrocities and violence. So the Prevention of Atrocities on SC/ST Act was introduced in 1989. Then tribal 5th schedule and 6th schedule, tribals have traditional Gram Sabha, but it was not had a power. So based on that, provisions to extend to Scheduled Areas Act 1996 gives special power to tribal areas, but we the people, tribal should utilize the PESA Act and the Forest Rights Act, which was introduced in 2006 and started in 2008, January onwards. That again is a very good opportunity for the tribal people to reclaim our tribal land and livelihoods by utilizing this law. The Right to Education Act, again, 25% can be used to get the, our people should be lawyers, our people should be a government decision-making body, then we can be able to attain our rights. So it many of us do not know what is ECC policy. Early Childhood Care and Education Policy, which was introduced in 2013, it has a special chapter 5 that mother tongue-based multilingual education should be introduced. That means tribals' language as an opportunity to promote. People can learn their education or formal schooling by individual languages as a medium of instruction. Then there are strategies that we can use for tribal development in this country. This is very important. These are the strategies through which we can reclaim. One is, first I'm saying, I'm not saying health and education, I'm saying first, protect land and livelihood rights of indigenous people in the Forest Rights Act 2006. Forest Rights Act is the only hope that tribals can reach. Sorry, it was
kindly unmute, sir.
Yeah. Second is include indigenous people's discussion in decision-making process. This is a major thing, that tribal people's decisions or tribal people's participation is absent in this country. We need to encourage tribal people's participation, for which we can use PESA Act 1996. People may say PESA Act can be applicable only in 5th schedule and 6th schedule areas. But through Forest Rights Act, it is applicable to all over India. In the Forest Rights Act, Gram Sabha means you refer PESA Act, they say. So as per that, through Panchayat Raj and Gram Sabha power, our people can involve in decision making. So before decision making, land and livelihoods. After that, you need a participation in decision making, for which you can use PESA.
Sir.
Then address food comes from and exploitation by implementing BLS service. Then bridge the gap between policy and practice. I'm saying policy, we have UNO policy, we have ILO policy, we have several constitutional articles use that tribes should be equally developed. And preamble, very good preamble in our constitution that talks about equality, liberty, dignity, and integrity. But practically, the reality, if you see the even last government's more than allocation, how much is it? So you have to see the bridge the gap between policy and practice. Then recognize knowledge of conservation to combat climate change. Don't get knowledge from foreigners. You come back to tribal people, learn from them, and use their strategies to combat climate change and prevent global warming. Learn from stories of us by bringing system reforms for that unit for change. That means a lot of tribal people across the country, if you go to Jiblas have wonderful medicinal knowledge, they have been snake catchers and hunters, but today they are conservators. If you go to Chenju tribes, they are the one extraordinary. If you go to Kulja tribes,
Professor. Sir.
Today complete a lot of, today we had several meetings. I think that's why. Okay. So this is the something that
Krishna sir, are you sharing your PPT?
Yeah.
It is not seen.
I'm saying actually I'm closing that very coming to last.
Yeah.
What people can do, how to support justice for tribals? Are you seeing this?
No, sir.
Are you able to see?
No. You can close and then you can share.
Yeah. Now?
No, sir. Can reshare. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Now it's okay. Oh, it's coming.
Okay. So what you can do? There are 7 ways that you can support. One is support RUS people's rights. Then increase accountability of the concerned authorities. Third, implement welfare legislation with good intention. Mobilize through media and communication. Strengthening justice system with humanity. Create platforms for opportunity for tribal peoples. And forming of tribal solidarity association clubs at every panchayat or every villages like that. Then, yeah, some of the beautiful stories comes from Adivasis people. Culture, conserving nature, sharing attitude, and their own dance, their own music, and their own values, which should be replicated. We should feel proud about doing this. And finally, I would like to end this presentation by this letter. This is the letter was sent by Americans to the President of USA. In the letter, I'm just taken the body of the letter. The letter they said, some years before, are you listening? Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see you. Your PPT. Yes.
To the President of US, one of our native American leader has sent this letter. They said, dear sir, some years before a person named Vespucci came to our land. And he prepared food, water, and a place for him to rest. Followed him a group of people visited to occasion and put poison into the pond. It's like a kind of lake where we used to use that water for our drinking. Many of us tried. After some day, they hosted a plug and said it is their land. They divided our land and declared as they are the owners. Mr. President, we see this land here as our mother. We don't cut it into pieces like head or body and hands and legs. We see we are part of the earth. But you people cutting the nature into species and saying that you are intelligent. If it is so, we don't want this for intelligent picture. Mr. President, look, we are outsiders and became ones of our house. Don't you ever feel that you are dishonest and untrue? It's the same and indigenous to explain to the forgery groups like you. So this was the statement given by, the letter sent by Native Americans. I want all of you to come back to India. The same statement was given by Chandra tribals when audience was started coming via Jhelum River, then to Ganga River. The Ganga River was for more than 30 years. During that time, that's why in Sanskrit, one of the words called Chandala. Chandala means enemy. In Sanskrit, there was no word as word. Chandala means always fighting audience. The same thing was happened to Banjara and Aurangzeb. This is what history shows to us. That happens there. Yeah, this is given to us.
It got cut, sir.
I would like to start because I don't know what is happened to my network. So I'm unable to continue that properly. But anyway, this is what happened. Yeah, coming to this, see, Adivasi people, at least now it's a sense for to unite all over India. Whether we are, people may call you indigenous people, some people may call you tribals, some people may call you primitive tribals, but at least more than 705 groups we are here in this country, and we have a population of more than around 11 crores. The government says 10.5 crores. But as Adivasis in India, we have to come.
Sir. Sir.
Now my whole network, yeah, today so many programs, so it does not have good network. Yeah. Sir, you continue. I'm closing.
Yes, sir.
So I ended. You can continue.
Yes, sir.
If anybody has questions, I can answer, but I would like to stop. I'm stopping.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for the great effort you have taken us to give great insights about Adivasis and explaining the restoration and right and identity of the tribals in a systematic and scientific way. We really appreciate it, and we are blessed to have you, sir, in this platform. And at last, we now I invite Adira ma'am to come and now I invite Adira ma'am for to come the platform. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Still, Adira, I think still you have problem. You can 2 minutes. You can speak and not very audible, my dear. Adira Narayanan, you can speak 2 minutes and finish. Yeah, because it's not clear, and we are also out of time.
Okay. Can anyone play my PPT PowerPoint presentation?
No, now it's
okay, sir. Okay. Mm,
Briefly do, Adira?
okay, okay. Only 5 minutes I will
Yeah,
take.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Can you put it in slideshow? Okay. There is no introduction about me. Already Father Lynn had it about me. So I am here with this topic. There's a tribal situation in Kerala. So tribals in Kerala are the indigenous population found in the southern Indian state of Kerala. Most of the tribal people of Kerala live in the forest and mountains of Western Ghats bordering Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. As shown in the map, you could find it. Wayanad and the Attapadi region of Palakkad are the most populated tribal districts in Kerala. Wayanad has the highest concentration of tribal population with 31.2%, followed by Idukki and Palakkad. The Panier are the largest of the 36 major tribes. In Kerala, we have Koraga, Chola Naikans, Kurumba, Kadar, and Kattu Naikans as the primitive vulnerable tribal groups. Kerala houses 4,84,839 tribal people in 1,19,788 family units that constitute 1.43% of the total population of the state. Could you please change the slide? So about the tribal cultural heritage, each 36 tribal communities which are in Kerala have their own distinct tribal culture. That means if we take the tribes from Kasargod to Trivandrum, they have different cultures, even though they name as tribe, but they're different. They possess a different tribal cultures in every aspect, like dressing, food, housing pattern, etc. They possess a rich cultural heritage also. Even though the tribes have different cultures in housing pattern, dance and songs are the main components in the life of tribes. Many of them are ritualistic. There are unique musical instruments to accompany the songs, like tudi and all. And for Adiyar, we have Gadiga. For Irular, we have Dudanpat and etc. All. Kanikar, we have Kanipata. For Kurichar, we have Kumbapata and all. These are the tribal art forms present in Kerala. Next slide. Next slide, please.
Fast.
So, okay, for the support mechanism for the tribals in Kerala, we have ITDPs under Scheduled Tribal Development Department, Government of Kerala, which is a prime agency for promoting these policies and programs given by the state and the central governments. And next slide, please. So recently we have two eminent personalities from our tribe. One is Lakshmi Kuti Amma. She is a famous poison healer, practitioner, traditional medicine. She is a Kanikar tribal community. And
Adira's gone grandmother. So hats off to your family.
Actually, from her, she only I have learned how our traditional tribal practices how to be conserve. It is not just to practice it, it must be conserved. And another we have Sridhanya Suresh. You all know she have cleared a UPSC civil service exam in 2018 and now working as an assistant collector. So you know that tribal cultures are diminishing day by day due to different developmental activities. So these personalities, this upcoming of these personalities like these must be required for tribal community, that once we must be known, we must be fame. And last slide, please. These are the problems of tribes in Kerala. The foremost problem what I have experienced is the misutilization of tribal funds. There are many not there are enough funds that flowing from central and state for the tribal areas, but how long it is in tribal areas and tribal people is a question. Like it's only because unawareness of our people regarding these funds. So misutilization of tribal funds will lead to economic issues, political issues, and also social issues. And another major highlighting problem nowadays is the online teaching issues. Now itself, I am in my own tribal area, and I am facing severe this network issues, because we doesn't have any tower and all in this tribal areas. How our children could learn? It's a very big issue. I hope the governments will have a remedy for this. In this fast mode, I am concluding my session. I thank Father Lenin Adi to give me such a platform with eminent personalities to discuss my problems. Sorry for my inconvenience I have led. Thank you, sir.
Adira ma'am, for your informative presentation. Now we come to the end of the panel discussion. Once again, thanking all of our resource persons for the enlightening and courteous approach, for their time and sharing different perspectives on the topic. Now, I invite Ms. Shamna Shirin to moderate the question and answer session. Welcome, Shamna.
Thank you, Kuryakov. We are already exceeded the time limit for discussion. We can have 2 or 3 questions. Is that fine, Father?
Well, very good. Friends, I'm sure I was in Jharkhand and so on. I have gone many times. When the program comes, the tribal people, they are beyond time. So they come morning onwards, there will be some function. All day they will be celebrating. So their value, though we structured the time to 6 to 8, I would say let it go like, but we'll finish within 5 to 7 minutes. But though I know we are almost 45 minutes. We lost but it was interesting. I find it very useful. So few questions for some appreciation or some feedback or some clarification questions. Being it's Indigenous Day, it's a day to celebrate. So feel free to say something or give your feedback. Sharp 9, we will say goodbye. Okay. So we'll have 7 to 10 minutes interaction and feedback. First of all, let me say all were very good. Starting from our one who started presidential address, Lida Jacob IAS ma'am, and our second one inauguration, Alexeka, or keynote address, Krishnas Gandhi, and all the panelists, and the last one of course Dr. K. Krishnan. Everyone was excellent. So I feel very happy. A variety, diverse experience. It is like traveling through all over India and experience the life. Already I have gone many tribal festivals, national festivals, but it was for me, it was a really enriching experience. I feel very happy and thank everyone. I think you can give some questions, or if you have some questions, clarification, etc. Okay, feel free to ask, or let it be very brief. Let us not go for it is we may not have a huge time to discuss and so on. Got some feedback or some clarification. Only we'll have the time. Only little time. Okay.
Yeah, kindly keep in mind the time constraint while you're asking questions. First question.
Sneha has, I think, lifted her raised her hand. Sneha, let her speak.
Okay. Good evening, all. Okay, I'd like to ask a question. Is it possible to implement the development activities in tribal sensitive areas by avoiding displacement and migration among tribal community of people? Could you anyone please state your opinion on the statement?
Maybe Dr. Krishnan, you could answer.
Yeah. What is the question?
Okay, sir.
What is your question? Can you?
Okay, yes, sir. Okay.
Can you repeat your question?
Okay, sir. Is it possible to implement the development activities in tribal sensitive areas by avoiding displacement and migration among tribal community of people?
Still, I'm not. You said displacement and migration among the tribal that I'm hearing.
Yes,
Before
sir.
that,
Yes, sir.
Development. Is it possible the development, she is asking, without the displacement?
Okay. Yes. See, since you asked the question, there is no time. Father already said. My thing is, at whose cost the development should be? That's the question number 1. At whose cost the development? Second, what is development? Development is who is deepening development. Development means what? Development should not destroy the nature. That is the development. Second, development should think about future generations. That's the development. What is happening now? Development. See, it is like simple. Again, go back to see when I have to give one example because of time. I'm not able to answer you very well. See, when European countries' economy trade was failure, when the king's rule was got failure, they started colonizing other countries. When they went to America, when they went to Latin America, when they went to Asia, they started occupying others' land, and they say it's a development. Development at whose cost? So number one. Second, Nagarjuna Dam. You see, I come to South India because you are South India. The Wayanad belt, see, Kerala, Wayanad, Mysore, Karnataka, Mysore, and Samrajinagar, Tamil Nadu, Nilagiri district, and Coimbatore district. See, all these three areas are thickly tribal populated. Because of the development, these divided into three different states. So tribal people unable to unite themselves. Otherwise, it could have been a separate tribal country or tribal state. That could have been, that belt could have been a separate tribal state. But what has happened? Tribals are divided into different states and their population are divided. So my question is, again, development can be done. First, come to tribal villages, ask tribal elders, and they know. Simple example, when they go for hunting, they don't hunt animals which are pregnant. When they collect tubers, they will if there are 5 or 6 tubers are there, they will collect 4, rest they will keep it on the earth. When they go to trees and they plant the seeds, they will leave 2 or 4 seeds on the tree. That is called sustainable development. But now what is happening? You are simple example. Water, how much water we are extracting from the ground? 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet. That means development only to feed your stomach, not to generations of stomachs. So development again have to be redefined. What is development? Come back to tribal people, learn from them. That is the development.
Excellent, sir. Very good answer.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sneha. Is there any question?
Or any feedback, any observation?
Please make it fast.
Okay. If no questions, let us. I think it's already late. Shamna?
Yeah.
So one or two can give just feedback about today's presentation. One or two can from Sainis. Just how was that presentations? Or there anything? Any new learning or anything?
Now the question and answer session is over. Is there any feedback from the trainees?
Just 2. Okay.
Sir, there is a question in the chat box.
No, need. Let them ask directly. Need not look to the chat box. If they want, they let them ask or give them feedback.
Okay.
Directly.
Veerapan sir, can you ask directly to the question?
Or any feedback? Veerapan sir, Dr. Veerapan, give your feedback, sir, about today's session. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Today program is a very, very wonderful session. All the penalties are under Dr. Krishnan sir also with very good ideas is sharing to us. Very informative. It to be future, golden future, sir. Thank you for that.
Very good, very good. Thank you.
I will just say,
yes.
Matthew Arthail, Associate Director of ADI. I was really happy that I was able to get a very wide perspective of the adivasis throughout India. So the input sessions, presentations were really enlightening. Particularly, I liked the sharing of the adivasis from their life struggle and life. They were sharing their experiences and their problems and agonies. That way, I think this was a very good way of celebrating the Indigenous Day, the Day of the Adivasis. Congratulations. to the organizers and all those who spoke and shared their ideas and presented their ideas in this webinar.
Thank you, Matthew, sir. Anyone else?
Shall I?
Yeah, please.
This is Peter Anthony from Department of Social Work at Indigenous Government Arts and Science College, Karaikal. And I appreciate the organizers for organizing such a wonderful webinar. Though it is almost 3 hours and 50 minutes, I feel that I have learned a lot about the tribals, their how they were, the past, the present, the challenges, and how they are overcoming all the difficult situations. And the seminar has been meticulously planned and well executed. And hats up to all the speakers who have contributed their views while they are working with the people in their offices, how they have managed the situations, how they have encountered the problems, and how they have guided the tribals all over the India. And the profile that that has been given by the people, I learned a lot how the tribals are facing the difficult situations, how they are overcoming the challenges, and what contributions they have made to the national development. And I appreciate the organizers, and thanks a lot to all the speakers who have spared their valuable time in making us enlightened about the tribals. And I thank one and again all.
Thank you, Peter Anthony, sir, for your kind words. Now it's almost the time. So
I think now feedback link will be given in the chat box. Once you fill the chat box, that feedback, you will get the each certificate, and then we'll let us go to other. Before that, Ardra CS has lifted. Okay, Ardra.
Hello.
Yeah,
Good evening,
speak.
sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, all. I'm happy to being part of this webinar. So this session was really insightful and informative. So and also enlightened our knowledge learned. Thank you all for giving us this opportunity, sir.
Okay.
thank you, Adra.
Feedback link is given in the chat box. Now let us go. Oh, yeah, Shamna.
I sincerely thank all who have added their views and clarified doubts. Your interactions made the session more meaningful and whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Shamna, for guiding the discussion. Now, I call upon Rahul Krishnan to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Arya. Good evening, all. I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose vote of thanks on this memorable occasion. Let me first of all start by giving thanks to the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding success. If people can acknowledge the wisdom of indigenous culture, then that's their loss. Following these words of the famous British writer J. Gibbs, we all have gathered in this special occasion of World Indigenous Day, surpassing all the hurdles of Corona. First and foremost, I thank Ms. Lida Jacob IAS, President CABS. Thank you, ma'am, for delivering the presidential address. Your words really ignited our hearts. Next, I thank Dr. Alex Eka SJ, Professor, Rector, St. Xavier's College, Ranchi, and in charge Tribal Research Center. Thank you, Father, for inaugurating the webinar. Next, I would like to thank Dr. Kristidas Gandhi, our IAS, former Secretary of SCST Department. Thank you, sir, for your keynote address and valuable sharings. Today, panelists have made the panel discussion intellectually enriching. Dear panelists, you have enlightened our intellect and widened the scope for our imagination in the field of the culture, values, rights, and the issues of adivasis in India. Your informations were educative, which helps us to analyze and respond to any social issues related to the adivasis. Thank you, Miss Amini, Father Rajit Kinto, SJ, Mr. Bukhya Anil, Sister Ruby Mary Kujus, Miss Adira Narayanan, Mr. Kaliswamy S, and Dr. Krishnan K. Thank you all. Now I thank Father Len Anthony SJ, Director of Adi Attapadi, who stands as a strong pillar for the success of this webinar. He meticulously planned and guided everyone so that all program became a success. Thank you, Father, for your guidance and tireless effort. And also, I thank Father Refin Kamal, Assistant Director, Adi Attapadi, Mr. Vipin Lal, Coordinator, Adi, and Uma Vadakatatara, staff at Adi. Okay. And also, I would like to thank the MSW students from Christu Jayanti Autonomous College, Bengaluru, St. Berkman College, Changanasheri, St. Joseph College, Bengaluru, and Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit Regional Campus, Payyanur, for their hard work and generous contribution to make this event a success. Especially our MCs, Arya and Kyriakos, and I thank Shamna for guiding the discussion. I thank Alina for guiding us through prayer. Atulya and Parvati for monitoring the YouTube broadcast, and also Aju and Ardra for preparing the PowerPoint. Thank you, my dear friends, for your support. Finally, I thank all the participants who have been with us through the Zoom meeting and our YouTube channel. Without your presence and your patient listening, this webinar won't be a successful one. Thank you, all of you, and wishing you all a happy Indigenous Day. Thank you. Father, is
Jai
there any-
Adivasi!
Jai
Jai
Adivasi.
Adivasi.
Jaho Adivasi!
Jaho Adivasi.